Nothing broke. Nothing broke. I'm shocked. I'm surprised. But hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 10. I know. Where does time go? Welcome to episode 10 of the Grumpy Gaming Weekend podcast. Today I'm joined by the one, the only, Guz E. I feel like we should have done like a whole wrestling intro. We should have had you walking in with like smoke and... Oh, if only we'd had more time. Bit of music on in the background. Da, 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 da. Oh no, we're not. Copyright strike. No. But yeah, look, everybody. So we're doing a live one today because Elliott is in Poland and Taylor wasn't well. So we decided that Guz and I were just going to go ahead and do it live, which means we can take questions from you guys, which means we can interact with you and all that lot. But we're going to be talking about E3. So if this is your first time here, this is a weekly podcast. We do this every week where we talk about gaming news, gaming events, things that fall off my keyboard, and all those kind of stuff. But so we're going to talk about E3. Last week we talked about our pre-E3 thoughts and opinions and what we hoped to see and all of that. This week we're going to be talking about our post-E3 stuff. So what we thought was good, what we thought was bad, just our general sort of impressions. And this one is a bit of a live one. I haven't really got like a script or necessary like topics list. We're just going to kind of go through the different conferences and give our opinions. So if you have any opinions on the E3 stuff, let me know. And if you are here already, thank you for joining early. But if you are here already, if you wouldn't mind just giving the video a quick like for me, it really helps with the engagement rate. But before we start talking about E3 stuff, Guzzy, the man, the myth, the legend, who are you? Give yourself an introduction. Why are you here? How do I know you? I don't know either. Oh, we can't hear Guz. It was the other desktop audio. I'm so sorry.
This is awkward.
Start that again. Okay, so I have two desktop audios open, and even though one of them is showing activity, apparently it's not. So I'm sorry. Start that again, Guz. Who are you? Why are you here?
Let me pull my script back up.
I know,
guys. Grumpy made this script for me, so that way we can make sure that it's appropriate and everything.
Yeah.
No, but I'm Guz. Many of you probably know me from various places around Twitch. Buddy of Grumpy's. I offered to help him out today.
Which I like very much appreciate.
I don't know what else to say, bud.
No, it's good. We've known each other for a while, haven't we? Like you were one of the first sort of the little group of streamers that I like kind of became friends with, I guess. Like I remember when I first started streaming that it was definitely a solo gig. I didn't have a Discord community then. I didn't have any friends on Twitch. I knew nobody, literally nobody. I came to the platform with my little knapsack and no friends and just 3 magic beans, and that's all I had.
Did you have a juice box?
I did have a juice box, yeah. It was blackcurrant flavor because it's the best flavor, and you guys don't get that.
Done apple, but whatever.
Oh, apple is a good shout. But yeah, so I knew nobody, and I kind of sort of stumbled across 1 or 2 streamers who introduced me to lots of their friends, and we sort of just kind of formed this big sort of friendship group. And Guzzy was one of those first people, and at the time, you were streaming fairly regularly. You don't stream as regularly now; it's a bit more sporadic right now.
Not nearly, yeah. I want to get back to it. It's just that life, life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
I've heard. That's what I've heard.
It's definitely hard, especially if when you stop streaming. There is definitely a bit of a. It's hard to get back into it, and obviously work, IRL, job, all that kind of stuff can get in the way very easily. We're not all as lucky as me, who can just do this full time and not have literally any other responsibilities whatsoever. But yeah, no, we got back. We still talk. You stream occasionally. You do usually that sort of stuff like The Division, don't you? You do those kind of games.
Prefer shooters. Actually, the plan is to start, and we're going to get into this. We'll segue. It's kind of like an early segue. Plan to start a Final Fantasy VII playthrough very shortly, and obviously I'll be streaming all of that.
Nice.
And I think there's a pretty obvious reason as to why that is, but we can get into that a little bit later.
Yeah. So have you played 7 before? Have you played it? Have you?
I've played 7 before. I've made it 2. So okay, let me give the full story, and it'll be a very quick version. 7 came out. I had to be probably 15, I'll say, or so. And I had my best friend who lived next door to me, and he knew that I was playing it, and we both had a original PlayStation, and he wanted to borrow it. And I said, yeah, sure, think nothing of it. And he says to me, all right, I'll give you Twisted Metal, and, we'll give each other the games back when we're done, right? And the very short version of the game is I made it all the way to the last disc. I was standing on the meteor, and that's when I last saved and handed him the disc, and he moved away about a week later.
Oh.
Never finished it.
Oh.
Never got.
So it was originally your
off.
copy, and you gave it him, and then he moved. Yeah, I was gonna say, there's always that when you're a kid. There's always that risk, isn't there? Like, oh, I'll borrow your thing, you borrow my thing. There's always that risk that you're never gonna get that back. I did the same thing. I swapped a Star Wars toy for a copy of Power Rangers, the one with Ivan Ooze, and like at the time, I thought, what a great swap, because it was a great movie. But once you've watched it like 10 times, you're like, I want my toy back, and I never got that. I never got that toy back. I think it was the professionalism. The professionalism, ladies and gentlemen.
I get scam phone calls about 8,000 times a day, literally, and this is one of them.
I used to get them all the time, but in Europe now we have this thing called Article 13, and I haven't had one since, because now it's against the law to give away somebody's information without their consent, so you can't sell it legally anymore like they used to. Which
no, here in America, you could just kind of say, here, take it and give me some money for it.
Yeah, well, that's what they used to do here. Exactly the same thing. And that's one of the things that Article 13 is to protect against, even though I'm not getting into the Article 13 debate, because a lot of people kicked off about it because it made certain things more difficult, but it was there to protect us from this kind of shit. And I will say I've not had like barely any cold callers since then. Anyway, back to games. So we're going to talk about E3. I think, should we just kick off with Final Fantasy since you've started talking about it? We're on Final Fantasy.
We can kick right off with that.
Let's go ahead. I'm going to quickly change over my... I'm going to change over my subject bar to, we'll do Square. Make sure I spell it correctly, because we are live. Square Enix. There we go. It's not in the center. It's not in the center. JP's going to shout at me. There we go. It'll do. It'll do. Square Enix. So we're gonna try and group these into their respective sort of categories, if you will. So we'll do Square, we'll do EA, we'll do Ubisoft, but my scatterbrain might forget which game is which. But Square was a very interesting one. I actually had to stay up super late to watch this one, and I was very, very tired because it was towards the end of E3, and I'm not going to lie, E3 absolutely wiped me out. So if you didn't see it, we all live streamed it. Well, the GGWP guys, we live streamed most of E3 over on Twitch. So it was me, Taylor, and Elliott, and I forgot how much live streaming that was. Like, it just wiped me out. But they had a few games I'm interested in, but let's start with the big one. Let's start Final Fantasy VII, because we just said before the podcast, before we went live, that Guzzy didn't want to know my opinion on it until we went live. You want to be surprised by my reaction, if you will. But for those who weren't around for last week's podcast, if you didn't watch last week's episode, I very much said last week that I wasn't excited for Final Fantasy VII. And the reasons why I wasn't excited for Final Fantasy VII is I'm a huge, huge fan of Final Fantasy VII. It was my first ever JRPG I ever played. It was the first Final Fantasy game that I ever played. It was one of the few really sort of, I wouldn't say it's the biggest RPG ever, but it was one of the first like big RPGs that I really sunk my teeth into and wanted to complete as a child. And I still play it every now and again. I streamed it last year. I think it was last year. Was it this year? Last year? I streamed it recently.
Might have been early this year. Yeah, it feels like it was super recent.
But anyway, I streamed it over on Twitch from start to finish and absolutely enjoyed it as much today as I did 10 years ago. And when they announced that Final Fantasy was going to be remade, at first it was a lot of excitement because it was like, oh my god, that game is so old, it's so outdated graphically, even mechanically it's so outdated, this could be amazing. And then the more we heard about it, the more I was like, what? Like, we heard it was going to be episodic, which for an RPG or a JRPG especially, I'm just like, why? Like, why be episodic? Like, then we heard that it was going to be an action-based RPG, and for me, one of the big things I love about Final Fantasy was the ATB system. So then hearing it was going to be no ATB system, I was like, And then there was lots of questions about, are they going to keep some of the, like, maybe less politically acceptable things in there that they used to have? There's a whole cross-dressing scene where Cloud cross-dresses. Are they going to keep that in? Are they going to tone it down for today's sort of Twitterverse and all these kind of things? And so I really just wasn't excited for it. But then I watched it. I watched it at E3, and I changed my mind. I'm like, I'm so excited for it. Okay, well, let me talk. What do you think, guys? What did you think about the announcement? What do you think about the showcase?
So I'm just going to back up just a little tiny bit and say that I mostly agree with you.
Mhm.
I don't care about action RPG. For me, action RPG is Diablo. That's as far as I go.
Yeah,
I haven't played a Final Fantasy game since, I guess, 10 because I haven't cared for either online or an action style.
yeah. Which
Um,
I think the last good
I've-
one was 10. Just put or 10-2. Just putting that out there.
and exactly, I love turn-based or active time battle or whatever they call the system in 10.
Yeah.
I prefer that kind. I just don't care for action. I don't want to sit there and mash buttons. And I've heard some
Yeah.
great things about 15 or whatever just came out. I don't even know what it is at this point.
To be fair, 15, the majority of the Final Fantasy core crowd didn't like it. And I'm one of those people where I'm kind of on, I don't know, I'm on the fence about it. I didn't play enough of it to give a really solid opinion, and that should tell you something. No, I'm a huge fan of Final Fantasy, and I loved 7, 8, 9, 10. I even loved 10 too. 13 was okay, but knowing that I didn't even get that far through 15 should tell you something.
Mm-hmm. So, I had a lot of trepidation. Originally, like you, very excited. I played this game when I was a teenager. We're going to get some incredible updated graphics. Square could do some great things in the graphical space. Um, then when I heard episodic, it was like, I'm not a big fan of episodic games. I want to enjoy my game as I go. It's the same reason why I am not playing. What's that game? Strange.
Strange Things? No, that's a
No,
TV show.
that's yeah.
Life is Strange. Life is Strange.
Life is Strange. Thank
Yeah.
you. I refuse to play Life is
Thank you,
Strange 2
JP.
until it's all out. For that very reason, I'm not going to go
Yeah.
episodic. I'm going to enjoy the content as I can, and if it means 2 or 3 episodes in a day, sure.
Yeah.
And then the reveal, and everything completely changed. We have a faux active battle system where it pauses time and allows you to control when you want to control and do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
The game looks incredible, like we knew that it was going to.
Yeah, it looks stunning, which you've always got to be a little bit careful with E3 footage because it's always a little bit more polished than you usually get, but it looks stunning.
To the point that you said before, not the exact same point, but let's take a look at Barrett. We're getting Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
We're not getting this 2019 version of it's okay, Cloud, things went wrong, but we'll get him next time. No, we got the we're gonna go in there, we're gonna fuck up Shinra version of am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Do we want to drop an F-bomb counter on there?
F-bombs are okay, just within your reason. YouTube's actually alright. It's okay. You're allowed to swear, yeah.
Okay. It's a good thing to ask after the fact, but whatever. But yeah, we're getting that version of Barrett that we've always expected, where he's a hard ass, that he's a by any means necessary guy.
Yeah.
To put it all into perspective, when they announced it, I loaded up the Square page and I hit refresh about 17 times before they finally posted the deluxe version, which I pre-ordered already.
Interesting.
That's not the version with Cloud on the bicycle because it's a little bit too much, a little too rich for my taste. I'm not spending 400.
Well, there's something. Do you know what? I've got so many points on this one. I'm glad we started with this one because I've got so many points. To your point of the collector's edition, it's not really a collector's edition. Those of you not seen it yet, the collector's edition features a statue of Cloud and the bike from the new game, obviously, which is a kind of a big iconic feature of Final Fantasy VII is the bike sequence. But it's actually a soft bundle, which means that the figure is separate to everything else. So that leads me to believe they're going to be selling the figure separately anyway. Because why would it be a soft bundle?
Good point.
Yeah, why would it be a soft bundle if they're not going to sell it separately? So I feel like I looked at that statue and thought, you know what, I actually really like it. If I had the money, I probably would have pre-ordered it with the statue. However, I'm kind of like, well, I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see if they sell it separately. But no, there's so much to unpack with Final Fantasy because they have in one piece of because I was gonna say it's a trailer, but it's not. It's a trailer and a bit of gameplay and all this. In one showcase, they have taken me, who just was not sold at all, and they have sold me. When I say they sold me, they've got me to a point now where I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to buy it and I'm probably going to enjoy it. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a masterpiece. It could be, but I'm going to enjoy it. And I feel like going back to your point of episodic, I'm somebody who doesn't really usually bother about episodic. Like, I don't mind Telltale games. They were always episodic. I don't mind Life is Strange as an episodic game, but they're narrative, like highly narrative games. They're almost like a hybrid between a TV show and a game. And so for those games, it totally makes sense. Like, it makes sense. And if you're somebody who doesn't like the episodic nature, then wait till it's all out and you can play it however you want. But for me, like, each episode in Life is Strange or a Telltale episode is like an episode of a TV show. It has a beginning, a middle, an end, usually like a cliffhanger at the end of an episode, and then the next episode comes out. And I like that. I really like it. And with Life is Strange too, I've played the first 2 episodes and I've got the third one waiting for whenever I want to play it. And I probably will play it soon and I'll wait for the next one. But with Final Fantasy being a JRPG, usually a long, sprawling experience, it just made no sense in my head to split it up. It made just no sense. However, I've had time to think about it since I've seen what they've shown at E3. And I will say this. I think, I think they're doing it for a good reason. And what I mean is if you look at what they showed at E3, they showed about 5 minutes of gameplay, maybe longer, and all trailer and a bit like that. Look at that. How much was there? Look at how graphically amazing it was. Look at how, I don't like this term, but next gen it feels. Like, it felt like a really solid experience with great graphics. There's a lot going on there mechanically. They showed the first little mini boss fight, and that was way longer than it was in the original. In the original, it was literally just, it was ATB, it was hammer it till it goes. This had like loads of different phases, and it had like big action sequences where the robot was like running across the wall and it was exploding, and then there was parts where it went invulnerable and you had to hit a certain part. It was massive, and that was just purely that first little mini boss that was like basically a throwaway thing in the original game. And so what I think, this is just my own personal opinion, but what I think that they're going for is they're going for something on the scale we've never seen before. And that is this giant sprawling RPG, but on the scale of a big blockbuster AAA experience. And I'm going to be honest, how do you contain that to a disc? And then you could say, sure, they could do several discs, but I think what they're going for is each episode is going to be a full game, essentially. So let's just say you have... Sorry, go ahead.
I'm confused with that. Is it still episodic? Because I could have sworn they said at the keynote that it's going to be the full game across two Blu-rays. I was under the impression that it's not episodic now, that they've reverted on that.
I didn't hear that it wasn't going to be episodic. I still hear that it is going to be episodic. I might be wrong. And if it is just a full game experience, then fantastic. No problem. But what I feel like they were trying to go for, if they still are, is such a grand scale that it couldn't be contained to one thing. And I feel like if you think about most AAA experiences these days, the amount of hours you get out of them are, they vary, but you have AAA games at $60 that vary from 4 hours, which is not enough usually, but from 4 hours to, things like The Witcher, which is like 100 hours plus, right? And I just feel like with it being this giant RPG, but also with them trying to go for that like blockbuster level quality, I could understand them splitting it out into sections, if you will, and being like, this is part 1, this is part 2, and this is part 3 or whatever. Because if you think about that game, it used to be split into discs. It used to be disc 1, disc 2, disc 3. And they could easily split it up and be like, right, this is because they said that the first like episode is going to be the Midgar section. So like if they're going to produce everything on the same grand scale from what we saw at E3, then I could understand how they could do a whole section on Midgar. There is potential for that. Things like, just take for an example, a little throwaway conversation between a couple of characters that was just dialogue, just text on a screen, is now fully voice acted, it's now fully rendered, it's 3D. I can understand how that game could potentially be massive. And so I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see whether whether it is episodic, whether it isn't, but I still will be giving it a go either way. And I feel like one thing that gained my trust back. So when I lost a little bit of trust for Square because with Final Fantasy 15, because Final Fantasy 15 made a lot of people, myself included, feel like Square didn't understand what made Final Fantasy great anymore. And, one of the big complaints, not having the ATB system. When we saw that Final Fantasy 7 was also not going to have an ATB system, a lot of people were like, oh, it's just going to be Final Fantasy 15, but with the story of 7. But Did you notice on the conference when they said, I think you guys like an ATB system. Here's the ATB system. And I know it's not a full ATB system. It's a hybrid. The game is action. It is basically hack and slash. But the fact that they know that their fans want the ATB system, so they've put it in some form, is like, I don't know, it sort of took my worries away. I'm like, so you understand what we like then. So you know that we didn't like 15, and you know, and I think, by the way, I think this might be why this got delayed, because a lot of people forget this got delayed. In fact, it's been delayed a couple of times. But yeah. I feel like part of this got delayed because of how 15 went down. I feel like when because people got to remember that games get developed way before we hear about them. So when you hear about a game, when you see a trailer, it's been in development for probably a year or two already for most games. So I feel like they went ahead with Final Fantasy VII Remake on the basis of 15, and then they went, oh shit, nobody's liking 15. We need to do something differently. And so I think that's why they then started adding in things like the ATB system. And look, I'll wait and see it till I play it, but I feel like the new ATB system, while not perfect, it's interesting. And the whole slowing the combat down reminds me very much of Transistor. I don't know if you ever played that. But it very much reminds me of Transistor. Yeah, the Supergiant game.
It took me a little bit to remember it.
Yeah. But so if you never played Transistor, that was a top-down game made by the same people who made Bastion. But in that game, you had a similar thing where you have your like action, but then you can like almost like pause it and kind of like VAT system almost, and then you can go and do different things. And that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that. And that was a really good system in Transistor. So I'm interested. And just looking, I know I would have preferred an ATB system, a standard turn-based, JRPG. But at the same time, there are certain advantages that you get to having it fully 3D in action and hack and slash and all of that. There's different things you can do.
Conversely, I think I like what they gave us. I mean, again, without actually having a chance to obviously play through it yet, I'm obviously going to be trepidatious, as I am with every game at this point.
We all are.
But yeah, it's a shame.
It is.
But I think what they gave us in playing, I may end up enjoying further than just a turn-based system, because it allows a little bit of button mashing, a little bit of actual play instead of just move my character, blah 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 blah, and here's your fight sequence. It breaks up the monotony a little tiny bit, because I love JRPGs, probably my favorite genre, but it does get a little bit monotonous.
Yeah. It's just, for me, I didn't like what they did in 15. I thought in 15 it was so unnecessary, and the combat didn't feel that fun to me in 15. There was a lot of, one of my characters is down, better revive them then. And, with looking at what I've seen from 7, they've got the core moves in there. Like we saw, I'm just going to try and think of any of Cloud's moves now. But we saw his limit breaks are in there, his laser sword beam, I forget what it's called, but anyway, his abilities are in there. We saw them, there's a lot of callbacks, there's a lot of I don't want to call them Easter eggs because it is a remake, but they clearly respect the source material. And I feel like this could be another potential Resident Evil 2, where I was worried about Resident Evil 2 and then I played it and I was like, no, this is just phenomenal. Like, it doesn't replace the first game. The first game still has its place because they're different. So Resident Evil 2 original was amazing, Resident Evil 2 remake was also amazing. So you have 2 games now that are great, but this one is just way more modern and fresh, and it does some things better and some things worse. And I think that this is what's going to happen with Final Fantasy VII. I think there's going to be some things that you're going to go, oh, that wasn't quite as good as the original, but there's going to be some things that are like, whoa, that is way better than the original. Like, just graphically for a start, it looks so good. Like, I'm interested to see the difference. Like, I'm interested to see, like, how does, I'm hoping the weapons are going to be in there, for example. Like, how do the weapons look with modern graphics? Like, is it going to be like an episode of Godzilla? Is it going to be like a Godzilla movie? Like kaiju battles? Is it going to be like that? Because that's essentially what the weapons were in Final Fantasy VII. They were kaijus. So are we going to get these giant, like, amazing cutscenes and fights with these modern graphics? I don't know. I'm super excited for it now.
The summons are going to look fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. I don't know how the summons are going to work, because we saw how magic works, and magic is very similar to how Kingdom Hearts does it. In fact, a lot of the combat reminds me more of Kingdom Hearts, which Kingdom Hearts combat was good, Final Fantasy 15 combat wasn't. So if it's more like Kingdom Hearts, I'll be happy. But yeah, it's very much it very much looks like they've taken some of those elements of Kingdom Hearts and some of those elements of Final Fantasy and mashed them together. So we'll see how the summons work. I imagine the summons are going to be like the Kingdom Hearts summons, which, you know, they get boring after you've done them 100 times, but anything gets boring after you've done it 100 times, right? But yeah, so excited. They've done a good job. I'm happy that Square are at least respecting the source material. I'm happy that they are listening to their fans. And obviously, you know, I would love to see a new Final Fantasy with the old style ATB systems, but this just isn't it. And so I'm, rather than fight against that, I'm trying to embrace it and go like, we'll see what good they can do rather than what I wanted them to do. And hey, maybe in the next Final Fantasy game, the next one, 16, will have, you know, an old style ATB system. But have you got anything else to say on Final Fantasy before we move on? Anything else?
No, just that I look forward to it, and I hope that it's everything we ever wanted it to be, which is we face the struggle, the ever eternal struggle of it not living up to the hype, and thus being a failure. And thus, when we say, "Hey, we want a 9 remake or a 10 remake," that they say, "No."
Well, on that point, this was something again that I said with Resident Evil 2. I was like, Resident Evil 2 is a cult classic. It is a masterpiece. It was amazing. It's going to be easy to fuck it up, and they didn't. So, and I will say, and I've said this many times now on the internet, and I stand by it, all of the good games at the moment, or not all of them, but the majority of the good games at the moment are coming out of Japan. So I hope this continues the trend. And they're obviously giving the game the time that it needs because it's been in development for a long time and it's still nowhere near coming out. So, and that's a good thing, because I've always said I'd rather wait longer for games to come out and be better than rush it out and not be great. So yeah, I'm very interested. I will definitely be buying it unless anything crazy happens between now and then and they turn out and it's like, oh no, actually it's like a subscription model, in which case I'll be like, yeah, I'm not touching it. But yeah, I will be buying it. I will probably be enjoying it, and I will definitely be either streaming it or playing it on my YouTube channel. So one of those two things. Was there anything else in the Square Enix that you wanted to talk about? That was kind of my takeaway, really.
I mean, Square Enix was like, hey, here's different iterations of Final Fantasy, because, I mean, at this point, what else does Square know?
Well,
But
they have
the
a few things. They have a few JRPGs, a lot of them that I don't really play myself personally.
Dragon Quest, I think it's called. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I've seen it once at PAX and was just kind of like, yeah, not me, and walked away.
Yeah.
But the other thing, which I actually had a lot of excitement going into, was, as of a couple of days ago, unannounced Avengers game that we all knew was coming.
Yes.
So I don't know about you. Marvel Heroes. It was a kind of top-down Diablo-style RPG with, you know, you play as one of the many hundreds of heroes, and you collect loot, and you have full skill trees.
Yeah.
It was free to play. I invested both a lot of time and, I will readily admit, a lot of money into it because I enjoyed buying the skins, the characters. I felt it was a very well-made game.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't originally. It got changed a lot over its life. I played it a couple of times.
I was in the beta.
Yeah.
It was very, very rough at first. I will definitely admit that. But it turned, in my opinion, it turned out to be a very, very good game. But then Gazillion had its issues and they lost the license. And then anybody that was kind of following heard that, and I don't remember the actual developer, had picked up the license for Avengers, or for Marvel, as it were.
Yeah.
And we were all excited, without knowing too much. And, you know, for the last couple of years now, I feel like people have been waiting to see, okay, when are we going to see at least a glimpse of what's to come?
Yeah.
And finally, it was unannounced, but we kind of had an idea that this would be the year that we'd be seeing something relating to it.
Yeah.
And finally, the very end of the Square presser, Avengers pops up on screen, and you could hear the gasp from the crowd. Everybody's excited. And they give us like 6 minutes of pre-rendered footage and no gameplay.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of reading up on it after the fact, and right now I'm whelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm just simply whelmed.
So I'm kind of the same. So my issue with it is it kind of looked like we did see gameplay, but again, it did all look very pre-rendered. And the gameplay that they showed looked like I don't know how to describe it, but just a narrative, you know, like action game, like just any other action game, but with Avengers. Like you saw like the Hulk jumping around and Iron Man, and they were like shooting stuff and fighting together, and it looked really interesting. And I know this is going to be a co-op game, and it is going to have a campaign. And that's what I'm interested in. I know I've talked to other streamers, I've talked to Ruby and other people that we kind of want to play it together because it looks like a fun co-op experience, you know? Like, obviously, I'll be Hulk because angry and green and all that, you know? But, like, yeah, it just looks interesting, and that's great. But then they kind of was talking about that and be like, yeah, you can join with 3 other people and play your favorite heroes and blah, blah, blah. And then, I don't know if you noticed this as well, but then, like, halfway through the conference, they were like, oh, and then there's online stuff as well, and then they're going to be releasing new heroes, and that's all going to be free, and you can play online. And I'm just like,
yeah, it was like just a passing, like, by the way, there's online.
But the way that they were talking about it made it almost sound like it was going to be like I don't want to say like an MMO, but like an online game. And I'm like, well, which one is it? Is it a single player
software as a service or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, exactly, like a live service game. And I'm like, what is it? Is it a single player with online, or is it an online game with a single player campaign? And at the beginning, I was convinced it was going to be a, you know, blockbuster. I can stop saying blockbuster, but you know, like a AAA narrative campaign game that you could play online with your friends. But then by the end of it, I was like, wait, is this a live service? Like, I really don't know. I don't know.
It seems that way. But I mean, my biggest holdup so far is they didn't give us any details. And again, the game might not be out for a couple of years at this point, and maybe they don't have it ironed out. But we don't know how you're going to progress. Is there any sort of progression system, or is it literally I'm the Hulk and I get to play through as the Hulk? From beginning to end, and there's no progression.
There was very few sort of gameplay details or anything like that, which another thing that confused me, because there was a couple of like cutscenes, and the cutscenes looked like this was definitely going to be, you know, like a Call of Duty campaign except with Avengers. Let's put it that way. You know, it looked like that. And then there's this big theme of the Avengers that are being hunted because people think that they did terrorism. Essentially, if you didn't watch the trailer, it looks like somebody blew up their ship. I don't know if the ship has a name, but somebody blew up the SHIELD ship, and then people thought the Avengers did it, and then people thought that the Avengers are now terrorists, and so they're hunting the Avengers. The Avengers are on the run. There's a lot of like, oh, you know, we're not heroes anymore, which is fine. I'm interested in it. I'll see. I don't know if it's based on a specific comic or anything. I don't really read the comics, but I'm very interested in all that.
I think they said it's an original story.
It's an original story. Okay, and again, I'm very interested. I want to know what kind of game it is before I get too excited. I'm like, what? Because I mean, again, they have a really good potential here. Like, imagine playing through a traditional, you know, campaign experience as an Avenger with 3 of your friends, and they're Avengers too, and you get to combine your powers, and hopefully there'll be like different ways that you can do your powers with each other. That could be amazing, but we don't know yet. We know nothing.
Exactly. I wish they gave us something.
Yeah.
Anything more than just like, oh, hey, you drop out of the ship as a Hulk and you jump from spot to spot. And from what I've read from, I don't remember what the outlet was, but they did get game time experience, and they said, yeah, it's fun. It's very on rails. You play as Iron Man. It's an on rails shooter in the sky. You play as Hulk, and it's on the rails. You jump from here, and it feels like a platformer where you just destroy shit.
Yeah.
But let's put it this way. Like I said, going from Marvel Heroes, where I put a lot of time in it. I think to this date, it's still my most played Steam game ever by a large margin.
Yeah.
The game's been defunct now for a number of years. I had a lot of hype for this, and this was the one, I'm just going to say it right now, that I was most disappointed in. That when I heard it, I was just like...
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if they're showing off pre-rendered footage like they were, they should be showing off something about the gameplay or telling us about it. It's almost like they've pre-rendered the stuff just for E3 because they didn't have anything to show us. And, you know, like, I get a lot of people get angry about teasers. Like, a lot of people, we'll come up to this when we talk about Xbox, but a lot of people are really angry about Halo because we've had 2 years in a row now where they've shown us nothing about the game. They've just shown us, you know, a little teaser last year and a slightly longer teaser this year. But I can understand that if you haven't got gameplay ready yet and you don't want to show it yet, then cool. A teaser, I'm not going to get angry about it. But it felt almost like they were showing us gameplay without showing us gameplay, and everything was all kind of vague and weird, and it's like, that doesn't get me excited. That makes me worried, because I'm like, well, if you're not sure what your game is, you know, how can I get excited about it? Like, you got to tell me what it is. Like, I don't. And you're right. If it's like an on the rails kind of thing, if it's very linear stuff, that does not necessarily a bad thing, because I love a good, well crafted campaign. You know, not every game has to be open world. You know, so I could get really excited about it, but right now I'm just like, oh, okay. So I guess we'll see more next year. It's something that's on my watch list, but it's not something that I'm going to get excited about just yet.
Exactly. I mean, for me, like I said, I had the most excitement going in, even more for that than Final Fantasy. At the start of E3, I was more excited for that than Final Fantasy, and at the very end, I ended up with that as my most disappointed part so far. And who knows? Maybe next year we'll get more info, and it'll be like, all right, this is everything we hoped for. But right now,
yeah, because it's interesting because the Avengers is like done now. Like the Avengers movie franchise, the main arc is done, and we are going to get more stuff from that universe, but the main bulk is done. But so yeah, I would be interested. I hope that it's going to be fantastic, but I'm not going to get excited about it until we see more. Anything else from Square Enix before we move on to another studio, another?
I'm going to look at my list real quick.
I was going to say I can't remember anything else from Square Enix, which is
exactly
should tell you something.
I mean,
oh, had a screen flash.
There's literally nothing on this list that I even remember them talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the Final Fantasy MMO. I know some people do, sure. Final Fantasy 8 Remastered, finally. It's not a remake like 7, it's just a remaster. There were a lot of people were really begging for it to be remastered because 7, 9 and 10 were all remastered, but 8 wasn't, and there was a lot of speculation it was because they'd lost the source code, but they clearly hadn't. They just had another issue, but it's being remastered. It's been brought to modern consoles, which is great because 8 is a fantastic game. A lot of stuff in here I'm really not interested in myself personally. So, well, let's move on then. Let's move on to what should we do? We're on Square. Should we do EA? Because EA is a nice, easy one.
Yeah, I mean that's where we started the conference. So why don't we? Kick into that?
Let's start with EA. So we watched EA on Friday. It was the first one. In fact, EA wasn't technically a part of E3. It was like a pre-E3 thing. But we watched EA. It was the first one we watched on Twitch. We watched it as the GGWP guys together. And I think it's safe to say that all three of us were just kind of like, was that it? Like, was that it? So they had a couple of interesting parts. They started off with Star Wars, which we'll get into in a second. But, you know, Star Wars looked okay. Looked all right. It looked good. And then everything else was just like, oh, okay. There was nothing else after it. I know a lot of people are super excited about The Sims. The Sims was at the end. I think they did that on purpose just to keep people watching. But yeah, let's start with Star Wars. How did you find Star Wars? You excited?
The game looks great. It looks fun.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I believe I remember Elliott saying, or maybe it was you, I don't remember which, was that what was interesting about it was that there's not a lot of downtime between sequences, and they kind of made it sound like this is actually going to be the game. So it's not like you run here, you kill 3 guys, and then you go running for another 5 minutes through all these great. No, you kill a bunch of guys, you walk for like 2 meters, and now here's a bunch more guys.
Yeah,
it has a lot of promise. That said, and this is obviously speculative at this point, and I'm going off of what Elliott said, as he's more of a Souls kind of gamer. He enjoys those games. I don't enjoy those style of games. And I know he had mentioned that in a couple of fight sequences, it looked like it was going to be more Soul style, that you have to actively block to reflect the bullets. And you have to do this to parry the attack so that way you could counterattack. If it's going to be Soul style, I'm happy that the people who enjoy those games get a great IP in Star Wars. But that's not for me, and I will be disappointed in that I won't be able to enjoy the game.
So I personally don't think it's going to be a Souls-like game. Let's just call it a Souls-like. People have different terminology, but let's just be real, Souls-like. I don't think it's going to be a Souls-like. I think the game is going to have some Souls-like elements. I think that's all it's going to be. I think so. A lot of people are equating it to a Souls-like game because it has melee combat in it, and the melee combat looks a little bit more slower paced. You know, some of the enemies are a lot tougher, and you have to dodge and time and block, and if you don't, you're going to get punished for it. But I think that's as far as it goes. I don't personally, and I could be wrong because we don't really know until we get to play the game, but I don't see it being a Souls-like. I see it being a game with action, because you've got blasters, you've got, you can do all things like slow time down, and they have said that there's going to be skill trees, and that the character has in the trailer, in the footage, has a lot, has a lot of skills they've already unlocked. But I don't think that's going to be like Souls like that. I think it's just literally going to be like you get some cool abilities, but you have to level up to get them. And
that's fine.
Yeah. I feel like they're trying to push that difficulty narrative. They're like, this game is going to have a challenge to it. The difference is Souls-like games are like, the whole point of Souls-like games is that they are unforgiving. They are very difficult. They are, well, not necessarily incredibly difficult, but they are one of those games that require a hell of a lot of a time investment. And I just don't see that game as that. I don't see it as that. I see it as a game that takes a little, a couple of elements of those games, but incorporates them into a standard sort of action, not an action RPG, but like a standard action Star Wars game. Because we've had so many Star Wars action games before, like we had The Force Unleashed, and this reminds me more of The Force Unleashed than it does a Souls-like game. Just maybe a little bit more difficult, which I can't actually remember how difficult Force Unleashed was. I don't remember it being incredibly difficult. But it reminds me more of The Force Unleashed than anything else. And that's a good thing, because The Force Unleashed was great. To your point, though, of, you said that there was action sequence, then it was a few meters of running, then another action sequence. That's a very E3 thing. We've seen that all the time. Like, they do this with every game, and then you actually get the game, and they don't show you the filler, because they won't show you that at E3. They show you, like, a pre-selected part, or in the worst case scenario, they make a part up to show you that never actually makes it to the game. So I would be careful with that, because they did definitely show a lot of climbing. There was definitely a point they were like, hey, look, you can climb around, and sure, fine. I just hope they don't overdo that, because we have these games already. We have these where you run around and you jump and you explore. We don't really need that anymore. I feel like that genre has been done to death. We don't really need it. People are more excited about the story. They're more excited about the combat. Like, give us more combat and less, wall running. But I think it looks interesting. I will definitely play it just for the story alone. I want to know. They've already confirmed it's set between episode 3 and 4. It's set during the time of Order 66, which was where the Empire was basically just exterminating the Jedi left, right, and center. I will say one thing that made me giggle was they showed off this enemy type, which was a stormtrooper all in black, and he had this like sort of quarterstaff kind of weapon with electric on both ends, and he looked very difficult, and he was a difficult foe for this Jedi. I forget the Jedi's name that you play, but he was a very difficult foe for him to overcome. And I just thought, well, what if they were in episode 4? That would have been a very short trilogy, wouldn't it? Like, just Luke's just like, hey guys, and he's like, zap, got you, boy, and then he's dead. That was it. Like, where are these stormtroopers in episode 4? Like, they all retired by now? What happened? But all jokes aside, it looks interesting. I will play it. This is the one thing I will say is these are the perfect E3 bullshit games, though. Like, these are the games like Colonial Marines. Colonial Marines looked so good, it looked so great at E3, and then it comes out and it's trash. And these kind of games are the ones that usually are the most embellished, because like we've said, you can show off a little segment of the game that looks fantastic and is highly polished and really well done, but then you get the game and it's very different. And one thing that I don't want to like worry anybody, because I think the game probably will be quite good, but they didn't show off any skill trees, they didn't show off any details, they just showed a vertical slice, and that was it. And when people don't show details, it's always a little bit like, it always triggers something back in my mind, like, why aren't you showing the details? Like, why aren't you? Like, why are you just showing this part, like just the graphics and just a bit of running and jumping and combat? Like, I don't know. Like, there was a lot of things, like a good example of what I'm trying to say is like, there's a part where the protagonist slows down time, because that's an ability that he has as a Jedi. He slowed down a blaster bolt, and then he force pulled the stormtrooper towards him and then put him in the blaster bolt. And like, that looked cool, and everyone was like, how cool was that? And that's something that they do at E3 all the time. They're like, hey, look how cool this thing is. But then you do it 2 times and you're like, well, I've done that now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, so what else is there? And like, this is I don't know, maybe I'm just cynical and jaded, but this is how I'm always like, I'm like, that's cool, and that's flashy, and that looks great at E3, but show me some substance, show me some depth to this game. Until we see that, I'm gonna reserve judgment on how good I think the game's gonna be.
And I'm gonna wait for you to play it before I make a decision. No, seriously.
Yeah.
The way that I look at it now, I've gotten to the point in life where it's difficult to invest time into a game that I'm either going to not enjoy or where it's just going to take
Yeah.
too much time for me to enjoy.
Yeah.
So again, if it does have that difficulty curve where it's just like, all right, we're going to play the shit out of this until we could play it and beat it, I'll invest my time into something else.
Yeah.
100%. You know, if it's gonna take 60 hours for in remember, I'm quite a bit older, and obviously as we get
He's
older,
playing the
our
age card,
reflexes
guys. He's playing the age card. No, go on.
as we get older, our reflexes slow down, and
Yeah.
I'm going to readily admit that I'm not quite as good as I used to be in a lot of games. Um, so while it may be like a 40-hour experience for you, it might be like a 50 or 55-hour experience for me, and just those extra days I could use towards literally any other game in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I will say like one thing, like I'm 28. As far as I can tell, I can play games as well or badly as I always have done. I'm still though getting to that point in my life where I'm like, if something just isn't like engaging me, if it isn't like really interesting for me, I'm just done. And I will say a lot of games I'd rather they were a little bit shorter. A lot of them, you know, whereas I used to be very much, you know, I want as many hours out of a game as possible. Now I'm like, if I can have the game without the fluff, without the filler, please give me that version of the game, because that's the kind of game, you know, I really enjoy. I'm like, okay, I only have so many hours in a day, and I'm somebody who plays video games for a living. I literally do it every day for a living, and I'm still like, hey, if you can just get rid of the filler out of this game, please do it. Like, developers, stop adding in, and I'm not saying that Star Wars is going to do this. This is just a general game statement, but a lot of developers will put filler into their game to make the experience longer, to make people think that they had a better purchase. But because I've heard this all the time, and I know me and JP have had this argument. JP likes to, and this is not, I'm not calling JP out here because a lot of people do this. A lot of people like to sort of equate like $1 per hour, or like, you know, they like to have like a ratio of a game is good if it has this many hours in it. Whereas I'm completely opposite of that. I'd rather have a good solid 4-hour experience than a middle of the road 8-hour experience. You know, I'm like, no, I just want that solid.
And I think going back, Life is Strange is a perfect example because it's a compact, pretty quick experience.
Yeah.
Playthrough is what, 12 hours, I think.
Of the first one, yeah, maybe not even that.
But the story's going nonstop, and there's never a time where it's like, all right, here's some crawl with just some filler to extend the life of the game.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have, just like you said, I'd rather have a shorter, I'll simply say more fun experience rather than something that's, here's 60 hours, but 30 of it is filler just to keep you going.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, don't get me wrong, if the experience is fantastic for 100 hours, then amazing. You know, like if they have that fantastic experience for a long time, then that's great. I just find with a lot of these $60 experiences now, a lot of them do feel like they need to be bigger. They need to be longer. They need to be, you know, more grand than the last one. And I'm personally like, it depends on the game for me. You know, if you're going to give me a JRPG, I'm going to expect there to be quite a lot of hours in there. You know, I'm going to expect some grind. I'm going to expect that's fine. But if you give me a narrative experience, I'm always going to be like, I don't really care how long. I need to stop dropping things. I don't really care how long your narrative or story driven game is, as long as it's good. You know, like I will take a 1-hour game if it's good. I will take a 10-hour game or a 100-hour game as long as it's good. But yeah, this is all speculation because we really don't know until we see the game. And like I say, this is all just potential fuck-ups that they could have, and we don't, you know, we're kind of like arguing about stuff that we don't know yet. It could be a fantastic experience. It could be like game of the year. We just don't know. I doubt it, especially with some of the games that are coming out. But yeah, it's I'm intrigued. I do like Star Wars. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but I really like it. So I'm excited to see some story. I'm excited to see where they go. And the fact that they've got characters from Rogue One in there too. Saul Guerrera's in there. So and he has full limbs as well. So I'm really hoping we get to see how Saul Guerrera like loses in his limbs and becomes like the crazy man that he is in Rogue One. So that's really interesting. Also, I will say the actor who plays the protagonist in this game also played the Joker in Gotham, and he was a fantastic actor. So, you know, I'm happy with that. I'm pretty excited for all of that. So that's Star Wars. Pretty much everyone, I feel like, is on the same page with Star Wars. We'll wait and see. What else was at E3? What else did we have? I mean, are you a sports game fan?
I used to be.
Yeah.
I used to put a decent, back in my teenage years, a lot of time in the Madden. And then once EA actually bought the license for NFL, so nobody else can make NFL games, I gave them a big and stopped buying Madden. because
Fair.
I preferred other NFL games, which will go unnamed because, anyways, I put a couple of hours into FIFA and I really enjoyed it, and I do really love football.
Yeah.
It's just difficult for me because American football is kind of shit, and EPL is far too early for me to wake up for.
Yeah.
So I am not going to be playing FIFA. I won't be playing Madden. And to be entirely honest, and I mentioned this in the stream, EA's presser put me to sleep. Legitimately, not even
Yeah,
hyperbole.
not even joking. You actually fell asleep. You came back, didn't you? I remember you coming back being like, guys, I woke up. Like, what did I miss? And we were like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
That's what EA did to me.
So there was Battlefield 5, which is already out, and honestly was a bit of a flop. So they're bringing out new content for a flop. Good job. What was after? I'm sure there was a game between Battlefield and Star Wars.
Well, Apex
Legends. Yeah, another game which
And
already came out, was a smash success and then kind of flopped. So 2 kind of flops, a game that we're excited for, and then 2 sports games, which honestly, like, none of the GGW people were really bothered about sports games. I don't play sports games anymore. I used to, but I don't bother. So 2 sports games back to back, which was a very boring part of the conference, honestly. And then The Sims, which is a game that's been out for years and is a game that, like, I know a lot of people get really excited about The Sims, and I used to stream The Sims, but for God's sake, I cannot get excited about expansion packs for The Sims. Like, I just can't. Like, it looked alright.
Give me Sims Online, you cowards.
Oh God. I mean, yeah, if they were gonna do an announcement like that, yeah, sure, I'll get on board. But yeah, just more expansion packs. I'm like, I already can't afford The Sims expansion packs. I have to beg. I didn't beg my community either. Whenever I pay The Sims, this is a real thing. Whenever I stream The Sims on Twitch, people are like, wait, I notice you don't have that expansion pack. And then I'm like, ding, you got notification. You just got gifted the expansion pack. And I'm like, thank you, because I can't afford this shit. But literally every time. So yeah, I just don't know. Like, they charge this pretty much the same amount as a full game for an expansion pack. And I'm just like, they're not even really expansion packs, honestly, anymore. They're just like, here's some more content that probably should have been in the base game. So that was it. That was EA. And honestly, it was a really boring start to E3. I'm kind of glad they did it first, got it out of the way though, because it was a really fucking boring conference. I'm sorry, EA. And anybody who knows me knows I will take any excuse to shit all over EA. I can't even shit all over it because it was so dull. There was no like shock. There was no controversy. It was just standard EA shit. And I'm just like, they didn't even make an interesting like performance, or they had no dialogue. They were just, here's the trailers. Do you know what I mean? It was just really, really dull.
It was so weird because they tried with Greg Miller and the guys on the couch, and
well, we made this joke, but it's also true. Like, the best part of the EA conference was Julia Hardy, which it's true. It's not even a joke. It's true. The best part of that conference was seeing Julia Hardy, who, you know, is awesome. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, EA, try harder, please.
It's about it.
Honestly, it's about it. I'm trying to make this podcast exciting about EA, but I can't even do that.
Why bother? It's not worth it.
No, I agree. So let's move on. So we've done EA. Should we move on to Bethesda? Speaking about being grumpy, I need to stop doing that. Speaking about being grumpy, should we move on to Bethesda?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's take on Todd Howard, shall we? I mean Bethesda, shall we? So Bethesda was a weird one this year, because Bethesda last year, I think a lot of people were really excited for, and a lot of those people were, I think it's fair to say, rather disappointed after E3 last year. So just a quick recap. I streamed E3 last year by myself over on Twitch, and I watched as Todd Howard got up on stage and said, oh, we have this reputation for our games being buggy, but Fallout 76, and I quote, just works. So it turned out it didn't work at all. And I mean, I'm not even going to recap the controversy. There was so much bullshit over Fallout 76. There was so much bullshit around the Fallout 76 business model, around the merch, around the game itself. So much crap that a lot of people were very, very, very unhappy with Bethesda. A lot of even fans of Bethesda have come out and said, I don't know if I'll ever buy a Bethesda game again because of how bullshit they have been this year. So knowing this was the sentiment of Bethesda, and knowing that E3, as corporate as it is, but knowing that Todd Howard was going to come out on stage and chat, did he come out and do the sensible thing, which would be try to reclaim some, you know, customer loyalty, some customer respect? Did he do that? Maybe. Did it succeed? Not really. Not really. So he basically came out and was like, yeah, it was really hard to develop Fallout 76, which immediately in my head was like, hang on. So you're saying that it was really hard to develop Fallout 76, so why weren't you saying that last year? Why last year were you saying, oh, it's going to be the best game ever, it's great, it's amazing, it's perfect, yeah, it's so good, it just works. And now you're going, oh yeah, we had a really bad time developing it. So I'm like, well, why weren't you honest about that last year then? Like, you fucked yourself again, Bethesda. Todd, you fucked yourself again. Like, it's one or the other. Either you knew it was having problems in development, or you didn't know. And if you didn't know, then we would say, okay, well, now you do fix it. But if you did know that it was trouble in development, why did you fucking lie at E3 last year? And it's like, you just shot yourself in the foot. So then he goes on to say we got some deserved criticism, which I agreed with. You know, they did get some very well-deserved criticism. And he made a little joke about being like, oh, I'm surprised some of you are even here. Ha ha ha, we can be funny as well, even though we're the ones that are being shit. And I'm like, that's all well and good. You're trying to, like, it's like he's trying to be a man of the people almost. It's like he's trying to get that customer respect back. But at the same time, their game is still releasing more microtransactions. They're still doing the bullshit. It's still continuing. So I'm just like, I don't know what you were trying to do, Todd. Like, you might as well have just come out and went, you're all suckers. You might as well have. Like, you at this point, you've screwed yourself. You have no comeback anymore. But yeah, we saw some more content coming out for 76, which I will say I just have no interest in whatsoever, because the game is shit and it wasn't a proper Fallout experience. It was a failed live service. The thing is, right, is as much as, and anybody who knows me knows I'm not a fan of these live service games. Not inherently, because a live service could be amazing. It's just that the reason why live services are made is to sell microtransactions. And when a game is being made to sell you microtransactions and not being made to be a fun game, it's never going to work. And you know, even games like Destiny, which a lot of people still like Destiny, even though I don't, you know, you can still say that Destiny was pretty well made. Whereas Fallout 76 wasn't even a well-made shitty live service. It was a shittily made shitty live service with pay to win, with controversy, with all that crap. So why would I get excited for more content for that game? Like, I'm sorry, but no. Do you have any thoughts on 76? Do you want to talk about it? Is it just, I'll just carry on ranting. I can go all day.
I basically, when it went on sale for $5, that's when because I think it went, if I remember correctly, it went on sale for about $5 for like all of 5 minutes somehow.
Yeah, it kept dropping in price very quickly after launch. And
it legitimately went down to like about $20, I believe, at one point. Not legitimately $5. It went down to about $20.
Yeah, it did.
And I believe I was talking to you and I said, you know, I'm interested for $20 and giving it a shot just to see how much of a train wreck this is.
Yeah.
And even for that price, I couldn't. And I love that their big reveal for E3 for Fallout 76 was NPCs. We've done something that no game has ever done before.
Yeah.
NPCs.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you know that thing that you all complained about? Well, we did it now. Even though they're half-arsed doing it, it's only a few, and it's only for that part of the game. And they're adding followers into the game, which basically every modern, like Skyrim and Fallout 3 and 4 all had followers, and they all followed you around because they're called followers, and they're adding followers into Fallout 76. But guess the one thing they don't do? Have a guess, guys. Have a guess what's the one thing that they don't do in Fallout 76?
Eat fried chicken. Wait, no. Drink Nuka-Cola.
No.
I don't know. You've got me.
You probably don't do those things. They don't follow you. They don't follow you around. They're followers who don't follow you. I know, right? It's almost like Bethesda couldn't fuck up anymore, and yet they somehow managed to do it again. It's like, we made followers who don't do the one thing they're supposed to do. Sammy, how you doing? Welcome back. Don't worry about being late. We're still here. How you doing? So yeah, so I'm not excited for it. I mean, I personally don't play Fallout 76 because I saw it for what it was last year's E3, and I saw it what it was at launch, and I went, I ain't investing money into that. In fact, I tried to play the beta. I got a code for the beta, and it didn't work. Wouldn't let me in. I had server issues the whole time, so I just didn't bother. And yeah, I'm not excited. They might be able to fix that game, and Todd Howard has kept saying like, oh, you know, it's not about what the game is at launch, it's about what it becomes. And I'm like, no, it is about what it is at launch, because this is why people got really angry, because it was really bad at launch. You can't just say that. You can't just be like, oh, it might be good next year. Why didn't you release it next year then? You know, like they need to stop this shit. And I kind of am tired about complaining about it, but I'll stop complaining. Yeah, I know, 100%, I agree. I'll stop complaining about it when they stop doing it, you know? And it's like, I hope, I hope that this is the last we have of this shit. Like, I hope this is the last example of a big AAA game like this coming out being like, oh, we'll fix it later. I hope that shareholders look at how badly Fallout 76 did and went, yeah, maybe we should actually like finish the game before we launch it, you know? Like, I don't know.
Nope, because they know that gamers are suckers, and the
Yeah,
next
but
new
here's the
IP will
thing.
come out,
This is
and
what I
I
never
can't
understand,
wait.
right? And without going into this giant rant, like what Guzzy's saying and what I'm saying as well, is that you have this thing where you've got a development team and then you've got the shareholders and the CEO. The shareholders and the CEO, they don't give a crap about video games. They don't even probably play video games. They don't care. What they care about is the money they invested in the company and making 10 times that back. That's all they care about. But then the developers usually want to make a great game because they understand they're gamers, they play games, they understand that their work is being attributed to this game. They want it to be the best it can be. And so you have this kind of like war going on in a company. And I used to have the same thing with retail, right? But you have this war going on in the company where your ideals or your goals and your goals don't match. And it's like, in the best scenario, you find a middle ground. So you find a middle ground. Like the developers are saying things like, we need another 6 months to get this game amazing. And the publishers go, you can have 3. And it's that like, okay, so you have a compromise. But at the moment, it seems to be like these shareholders are going, get the game out in 1 year. And they're saying it needs 2 years. And they're saying, well, get it out in 1 and fix it in 2. And this is what gamers are getting really angry about. It's because, well, if you release the game in year 1, and it's not ready, I have to wait a year. So if I buy it at full price, I've just been screwed over because I've bought a full price game, I've bought a full price game, and you know, why did I buy it early? But if you don't buy it early, if you buy it a year later, the game might have died off by then. So you might miss that game entirely. So people are buying games in panic mode because they're like, it's an online game. It might not be relevant in a year. People might not be playing it. I might have missed it. I've been spoiled on it because everyone's played it to death. I've seen all the YouTube videos. So you've got this really awkward situation. And I do understand in the corporate world it can be very difficult. But at the same time, surely these CEOs and these shareholders must be looking at Fallout 76 and going, fuck. Like, just make the product acceptable on launch and then fix it. Don't release it in early access, essentially, and then hope that people won't give a shit. Because here's the thing, we do give a shit. And we clearly have proven that. So anyway, moving on, because I could do a whole podcast about the fucking disaster that was Fallout 76. What else? So what else did Bethesda show? They showed their flagship game, which is trash. They showed some Doom, which the last Doom was very well received.
Good. Looks good.
Just looks more of the same.
But like everything else, Bethesda, I'm going to go in with a lot of trepidation, which I'm going to say a lot of.
You should.
You
should.
Because
no, you absolutely should, because you're spending money. It's a gamble now. Buying a video game, a AAA video game, is a gamble. But I will say that the last Doom was really well received. I don't think I heard really anything negative about it. So they're going to do more of the same. It looks like a little bit grander. There's like more of a, I don't know, a bit more of story to it. But yeah, people who liked Doom are probably going to like this one. You know, like I've not heard any complaints about this either.
I played a little. It was super fun.
I agree. I did the same. I played a little bit of it. I didn't finish it. I should finish it. I need to finish it. But yeah, so not really much to say about Doom either. It's just, it is what it is. It's more Doom, which more of a good thing is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on Doom?
No.
I don't either. Again, as somebody who didn't finish it, like, I can't really comment, but I've heard no bad things, because everybody who likes Doom is going to like it. If you don't like the original Doom, you won't like this one. So no problem with that. No problem. Like,
if
there's
you like
nothing
fun gameplay, you'll probably like Doom Eternal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's nothing wrong with sticking with an established audience and going, we need to make a game for those. You know, not every game has to be for everybody. Fallout 76.
Exactly.
So what else they got? They got the Elder Scrolls Blades. This is something that I don't want to go too deep into, because I said this last year when they announced it. I was like, ugh, mobile game. And I said it this year, ugh, mobile game. But that's coming to the Switch.
Which game?
Yeah, it's coming to the Switch, which, again, that's probably something I could also do a whole podcast on. The whole, like, Nintendo seem to be very, very selective about what they allow on their Switch, and I'm kind of confused as to why they allowed this one. Knowing it is a trash mobile game, I'm kind of confused as to why. I mean, are they changing it for the Switch?
Are they really selective anymore? it feels like basically everything comes to Switch, and I'm not gonna
Well,
complain because I enjoy my
when
Switch.
I say selective, I mean they don't allow trash to come to the Switch. And so far they don't
Okay, that's fair.
really. Apart
That's
from like,
fair.
I mean, I'm not talking about games that like I personally don't like. I'm talking about games that are objectively trash. I'm talking about the crap that you get on Steam. Like, I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody knows, Steam has a really weird trend recently of allowing basically full on, and I'm just going to say, because we're on YouTube, we've got to be careful. I'm just going to say full on adult content games on Steam. And you know what I'm talking about. And there's loads of them. And I keep seeing them on my recommended. I don't know why Steam thinks I would like those kind of games, honestly.
I actually haven't seen that.
Is it just me that think I like those kind of games? Well,
I'm honestly intrigued.
I can link you some. I can link you some. But I think the first
Please
one
do.
that because I tweeted about it like a month ago, and I think the game I tweeted about got deleted. I think it got took down because it was. Again, I'm trying not to go into too much details as we are on YouTube, but it was essentially. Let's just say too self-indulgent. It was there's a difference between being a game that is like edgy or shocking or horror or whatever, but this game was just like, no, this is full on that kind of content, which I'm not gonna lie, I have no problem with adult content. I don't, in the right places. And you know, Steam is not the right place for adult content.
No.
It's not. Like, if you want to sell games like that, like, I'm fully okay with a website being like, hey, we sell adultgames.com or whatever. Like, I'm cool with it. Because you know, if you go to that place, you're expecting that. But when I log at Steam first thing in the morning, if I see, and you can't see the images unless you click on the game, they all get censored by Steam. But if I see in my recommended list, basically, let's just call it Dave's adult content game, I'm like, brilliant. That's being sold alongside actual good games, and actual good games that are trying to be sold on Steam have to like compete with that. Like, they're losing real estate space, because that's what it is. Steam front page is real estate space. They're losing it for games like that. No wonder people are going to Epic. But that is another another topic for another day. But anyway, so my point is, Nintendo are a lot more selective than some of the platforms are, and yeah, why they're allowing Elder Scrolls Blades? I mean, unless they change the core concept of the game to make it less of a mobile garbage game, but that game is, as far as I'm concerned, is just the microtransaction shit show. So I don't even know. Like, a Nintendo, is it gonna have microtransactions? I want to see it. I want to see it.
I want to say that it will because I believe they said it'll be free on Switch. And
Yeah.
what
So
does
I'm just
Nintendo get
kind of
out of
like,
it if it's just taking up space on their store?
yeah, which I will say that Nintendo is one of the fairer companies, publishers, whatever you want to call them, when it comes to business models. I will say their games are a bit more expensive than other platforms, absolutely, but you don't get the same bullshit on Nintendo games. You know, you don't get the free-to-play crap and the microtransactions and the loot boxes. I've never seen a loot box on Nintendo. I mean, they might exist, but... So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I won't be playing it. If it's free to play, I might have a look at it just to see, but I won't be playing it. It's trash. It's crap. So that's Elder Scrolls Blades. We've done Fallout 76. Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo looks interesting to say the least, but we didn't really see much of it. So what did you think about Ghostwire? Are you interested at
I
all?
was going to say I must have blinked and missed it because I remember you talking about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
But what I remember from it basically was like one of those traditional Japanese structures, just like kind of archy. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of something in my mind. Not, I know we joked about it being the Thanos snap game.
Yeah.
And not quite that, but something that like a big
It
shockwave
basically,
comes and blows it away,
yeah,
and
it
that's like all I
basically is.
remember.
People just disappeared. Like, people just disappeared and into sort of dust. Very much like the Thanos snap, which there's
Okay.
loads of memes about it, which is hilarious, but really interesting concept. We just saw nothing. We just saw it was a teaser trailer, which again, I have no problem with teaser trailers. If they've got, you know, if the game is in early development, sure. Tell us about it with a teaser trailer. I'll get excited about it next year when you show gameplay. But I'm interested. I'm interested in the core concept. It's different and it's unique. Well, I mean, it's not entirely unique because, like we just said, Thanos. But you know, it's interesting, and I want to see how the game uses that as a theme. Like, is it going to be like a detective style game? Is it going to be like horror? Is it going to be thriller? Is it going to be like a survival? I don't know. I'm interested. I'll wait and see. But just don't really have much to talk about it. It's just a teaser trailer. It's just a, you know. So that's that. That's Ghostwire. I have put it on my list of games to watch, though. I've got a list of games I want to keep an eye on. Wolfenstein, I have never, this is again, I'm probably going to lose some subs today by saying this, but I have never played a Wolfenstein game. Ever. And I don't know why.
I mean, again, old man Guzzy. I've played the original quite a bit when I was in school. They had the computer in the back of the class. Instead of doing any work, I would just go back there and play
Classic.
Wolfenstein all day. And then, I remember one of the students said, "Hey, Teach, how come Guzzy gets to go in the back of class and just play Wolfenstein instead of doing his project?" It was a shop class. And the teacher told me because I actually knew what the fuck I was doing. And anyways, I got away playing a lot of Wolfenstein back in the day. I played, I don't remember the name of it because they give them such crazy names at this point. It's like maybe it's like the Old Blood. Maybe that's one that I played.
Yeah.
And I played it, and it's fine. It's your standard FPS. And I don't remember Youngblood. Again, I don't know if I blinked and missed it, if I was eating at the time. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But I will be playing it because what I like is Bethesda is doing the Buddy Pass system, where you buy a game. It's a 2-player game, and you get to gift it to somebody that they don't have to buy it. They get to play it along with you. I actually got a buddy who reached
is that
out.
like an actual gift though, or is that they can just join in and play, and then when you stop playing, they?
You see, I don't know specifically. I assume that because he bought it and I'm joining his game, I get to play it. Like from there, like I don't get to give it to you, and then you give it to JP, and then like we don't get to daisy chain it. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
no, I don't mean daisy chain. I'm meaning like, is it actually like you can gift one copy to a friend, or is it
Gotcha.
that people can just join in on your game? Because that would, I mean, either way would be good. I mean, I
I'm
can't
gonna assume
complain.
that's the latter.
Yeah, they could easily say no, everybody has to buy a copy. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I don't really know how it works yet. So,
So I got a buddy who reached out and said, "I'm gonna get this. In why don't we play? It's co-op. It's Buddy Pass. So I just give you a version or however that works.
Yeah.
I don't care if you stream it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So that comes out in a little more than a month. So be on the lookout for that because I will be playing that with my buddy online.
Nice.
So again, I've always enjoyed Wolfenstein. I've put time into it over the years.
Yeah.
The concept is fine. There's these really evil people who we will not speak of.
Yeah.
And
yeah, don't want to get demonetized again. I mean, not that I get monetized anyway, but sure, carry on.
Yeah. And we'll go and just exterminate them.
Yeah.
For the travesties that they've done. And again, it's like kind of parallel universe where if they had won, that this is the world that we're in.
Which is actually really interesting because I'm gonna after we finish some of this, I'm gonna segue that into Cyberpunk because there's a story there. But carry on.
No, really, but that's about it. So I don't remember much of the gameplay, but I'm sure it's gonna be the same as the recent Wolfenstein gameplay that I've played, and that was all fine. It was fine and fun.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Wolfenstein, every time it comes out, there's always a slight controversy because, as you said, of the subject matter in that game, there are certain people who just, they can't handle it. They can't handle that we're talking about bad things. Bad things should be censored at all times, apparently. But every time a Wolfenstein game comes out, it's very well received. Again, I really don't know why I've never played one. I just feel like I missed that boat, like I missed that boat and just never got around to it.
I would suggest it.
Yeah, it's more of a like the last just standard FPS I bought was Doom, and I just never finished it. I don't know. I don't have the time to play a lot of games, and so I need a game. I don't I'm getting to that point where I need games to be a bit different or unique or interesting for me to really like give a shit about it. Like I can still enjoy a game, like I enjoyed Doom, but especially if I'm buying them at full price, I'm like, no, I need something different. And but yeah,
so I just looked it up. The new, when they kind of like restarted the series, was the New Order. So I believe the Steam Summer Sale should be happening in a week or so. Nice. So I'd say keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I hope I have time to get paid because I start a new job on Monday, so I hope I get time to get paid before that. But I will give it a go. Like I say, I will finish Doom. It's just finding the time because they're not really games I'll really potentially. I don't particularly want to stream them, and at the moment, the majority of games I'm playing on Steam, on stream, sorry, or on YouTube for content. So it's really hard. But yeah, I have nothing bad to say against Wolfenstein. I think it looks fine. I will probably try it eventually, but I'm not excited about it just because I haven't played any. But that's a me problem, not a Wolfenstein game. Wolfenstein problem. So let's move on to Cyberpunk. I know this was a lot of people's biggest one. This is a lot of people's biggest. We'll just put Cyberpunk. I know this was a lot of people's standout even before E3. Everybody's excited for it. Pretty much everybody's excited for it. But Cyberpunk, we saw some more. We saw it last year, and everyone was happy. Everyone's excited. We saw some more this year, and there's been controversy, and I want to talk about it. But before we get to the controversy, what did you think of the new stuff we saw this year? Are you excited? I mean, to start off with, are you excited for Cyberpunk?
So I'm going to start with I've never played a CD Projekt Red game, and I knew nothing of The Witcher up until yesterday.
To be fair, there's not that many CD Projekt Red games.
And I knew nothing of The Witcher until actually talking to my buddy yesterday, same one that I'm going to be playing Wolfenstein with.
Yeah.
And he gave me a little bit of a rundown, and I even said to him, I'm still not even sure what the gameplay style of Cyberpunk is going to be. I found that it's going to be an FPS, so I am definitely more hyped now than I was even a couple days ago. The game looks fine. From the screenshots that came out this week, separately, it looks like as part of NVIDIA showing off ray tracing and everything, the game looks gorgeous. The game is going to be absolutely beautiful.
Which The Witcher was. The Witcher was stunning, so
it was a good-looking game. Aside from that, I really don't have much else on Cyberpunk. Again, I haven't been keeping up with it like others have.
Yeah.
Tentatively, it's something that I think I would be very interested in, again, because I love shooters. And I've always said I'm more of a futuristic sci-fi person as opposed to fantasy, which is why I could get into Cyberpunk over The Witcher.
Yeah. So I'm both. I like both. I really, in general, in films, TV, games, I really like sci-fi and fantasy. I like both, and this is definitely no exception to that. So we saw a little bit more. I don't know if we saw any gameplay. Some of it looked like it could have been gameplay, but a lot of it looked pre-rendered. From what we see so far, the world looks gorgeous. The setting looks very interesting, even though we haven't really seen much about it yet. I mean, let's get the elephant out of the room already. Keanu Reeves is in it. That was the big reveal. That was the big, nobody saw that coming. Cool. I like Keanu Reeves. He's a good actor, personally, I think. I don't think including him in the game is going to negatively affect it at all, so why not? I don't know. I'm not getting as excited about some people are about Keanu. I'm just like, if it makes the game better, cool. But it's not a selling point for me. I think the fact that Keanu is wanting to work on the game though does say something, because I feel like he is a little bit selective of what he works on. Like he does, he has worked on a lot of sci-fi, a lot of bit of fantasy. He did Constantine as well, so he likes that kind of stuff. So cool.
Yeah, his stuff is generally pretty good because, like you said, he picks something. He's not. I'm trying to think of somebody. Kevin James will just take any role. Or Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider as the pistol in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's very selective. So it gives high hopes to this project.
I absolutely agree. And so I'm kind of like, that's cool. I'm not really that bothered about Keanu. I think it's cool, but I just personally am really interested to see where the game goes. And from my guess, it's going to be a similar sort of experience to Fallout. A good Fallout, though. Fallout 3, 4, that kind of thing. I think it's going to be kind of an RPG shooter. So it's going to be first-person shooter. We know this. But I think they're going to have the RPG elements. They're going to have, like, different dialogue options, I hope. They're going to have different ways of playing. Like, they've already said that you can play the combat in different ways. Like, you can play, melee if you want to. You can do... They said you can be a ninja. If you want to be a ninja, you can be a ninja, which is cool. I'm going to be a ninja. But you can be a ninja. You can be a badass with a gun. Whichever you want to do. And they've said that. And they also have announced that there's a fully fledged character customization. And I want to address, there's a couple of controversies. They're not really, they're Twitter controversies, but I want to address them anyway, because they're both kind of relevant to the character customization, and they're both kind of relevant to the E3 announcements. So there's been two controversies. The first controversy is in the cover art, because in the cover art, it is a white male with a gun. Who, by the way, this white male is featured heavily in the promotional material. They have said you can fully customize your character, and we're going to get onto that bit in a minute as well. When I say fully, you can fully customize your character, which I'm really interested in, but we'll get onto that. So a lot of people are kicking off because the two protagonists that they have, because they've got kind of two. They've got a black female and the white male, and a lot of people are just super angry that the white male's on the front. And I'm like, right, like, what are you actually angry about? In a game where you can literally create any character you want, like, what are you angry about? And that's what a lot of people are saying is like, well, you can create any character you want, so why are you putting the white guy on the front? And I'm like, are we bordering onto a little bit of like reverse racism here? Like, you're saying it's not okay to have a white male on the front of a video game, knowing that, let's be honest and let's be fair, let's just be realistic. Like, white males like form a massive part of the gaming audience. I know there's that statistic that is thrown out all the time, like, oh, 50% of gamers are female. It's bollocks. They're not. Like, and if you believe that, look at any statistic ever on gaming. Look at Call of Duty statistics, look at anything, it always shows predominantly white males who play these games. Now, I don't want to get into like a whole race, gender, identity politics war, but what I want to get into is the fact that people are getting seemingly angry that there's a white male on the front of a game where you can physically create whoever you want. So if you're if you're a black person, you're a female, whatever, you can make that in this game, it looks. And I am always on the side of player choice. And when I say player choice, I mean actual choices, not the crap that they say. Like, if you're going to give me more ways to play a game, if you're going to let me play as a male or a female, that's a choice. I like it. If you're going to let me play as a black or a white person, that's a choice. I like it. If you're going to let me play as a ninja or a dude with guns, that's a choice. I like it. I love choices. Choices are good. They're always a good thing. Because if you say, hey, this is the person you have to play this man, then that's the only way you have to play it. And if you don't like that, then you're not going to enjoy it. But if you give the players a choice and say you can play as a man, woman, black, female, whatever, you can play however you like. And so that I just really don't understand why people are getting so angry about having a white man on the front. It's like, it's almost like that's not allowed anymore. And I will say that this is just a Twitter controversy. And when I say a Twitter controversy, and I've said this a million times before, Twitter isn't the world. A lot of people think it is, but it ain't. It ain't the world. There are millions of people that don't use Twitter. There are millions of people that do use Twitter, but don't get involved in all of the arguments over there. But people just seem to be very angry that it's a white man. And I'm just like, I've heard rumors, I don't know if it's true, that on the back of the cover is going to be the black female, which would be a good thing to do because we know that there's this duality. They're showing off two generic protagonists because you play as V. The character is called V. How you doing, Ruby? Welcome in. You play as V, and like I said, V can be a male or a female, black, white, does not matter. And we're going to get onto that in a minute because there's even more to this controversy. But I've heard a lot of stuff saying that the black female is going to be on the back. So why, I don't know why they didn't show that, show the back and the front. But people just need to stop getting angry about little minor shit like this. Like, this is not a diversity issue. This is a video game. It's not a diversity thing. It is literally just, this is the protagonist they put on the front. And if you don't like that protagonist, it's fine. You don't have to play as that protagonist. So it really shouldn't have been a controversy. I don't know if you've heard any of this news, Guns, if you've got involved with it.
I have not, no.
Yeah, it's really not. I don't want to spend too much on it, but it's really, again, it's a non-controversy. It's people just getting angry. And I suspect there are some people that are just angry about CD Projekt Red because of a tweet that happened last year. But I don't give a shit. I'll be playing it. You can't stay long, but you're here. No worries. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. But the second part of this controversy is kind of related in that in one of the in-game, so it's an in-game marketing material. So in the game, you have billboards, you have, these pop-up kind of advertisements that pop up. In one of these, there was a lady who had a rather large package. And this has caused I don't know, have you seen it? Have you seen the offending image?
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. There is a lady in a marketing in the game, not around the game, in the game. There is a marketing image of a lady selling a product, and the tagline is "Mix it up," and it's I think it's a drink or something. But there is this lady who has a rather large, bulging package in the in the material, and again has caused a huge controversy. Because people are like, well, now it's invoking trans rights, and now it's this, and now it's that. And the thing people need to realize, and this is why I want to talk about this, is that in this game, one big theme is body modification. And when I say body modification, I'm not just talking about a cybernetic limb. In the world of Cyberpunk 2077, apparently, people just pick and choose whatever body parts they want, whether that's a male body part or a female body part. They can have whatever they want. So if you walk into a store and go, hey, Mr. Body Modification Man, I want a big package, they will give you a big package, because that's the world. And this is not a real world we're talking about. It is a science fiction made up world, which is based on a board game, by the way, but it is a made up world. It is a science fiction, fantasy, whatever you want to call it, world, where in this world, people can have whatever body parts they choose. And it's apparently a big part of the story, this whole modification. Like we're probably going to get some sort of like Deus Ex, like people who are like pure and anti-modification and people that do all this kind of shit. But the point is people are arguing like real world issues about a fucking video game. And I'm just like, it's already started. People are like, oh, you can't show that because it's bad. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, not only does it make sense in the world, but it's nothing to do with real life issues. It's literally nothing to do with that. It's not a political statement. It's nothing. It's literally people being like, this is the world that this game is set in. And in a world where you physically can have cybernetic implants, you can pick and choose your body parts. Like, some people are going to do that. And I don't know. I don't know why everything has to be a giant controversy anymore. Everyone seems to be so like quick to want to get angry about something. And I'm just like, but just think about that, right? Just for a second. Like, how interesting could that be? Like, just think of the plot points we could explore in that game, where we know people do body modifications, and we know that gender in this game is way less fixed than it is in modern society now. It's way more fluid. Like, is that not like something we should be exploring? Is it not like a positive thing to explore non-traditional stuff? You know, I don't know. What do you think about it, guys? Any thoughts? Any opinions on that one?
People are afraid of what they don't know.
Yeah.
Is basically the best way to put it. And
yeah,
seeing something like that, they're going to say, no, naughty, bad, terrible. Yeah. I don't understand it, therefore I do not like it.
Yeah.
And to be entirely honest, I don't want to get very political.
Yeah. No, we're very neutral on this one.
You know, even though it's not political per se, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the best thing I could say is lighten the fuck up, people, because it's a human rights thing, not a...
This is literally where I'm coming at with it. It's like, so another aspect of this controversy, again, trying to remain neutral, because I do try to remain as politically neutral as possible. Another aspect of this that needs to be said is that some people are being very angry about the fact that you can play this game as a trans person. So you can play as like I say, you can pick and choose your gender from the character creation screen, which is, you know, as a straight white male, for me, is like, it's just interesting. It's interesting that you have that choice. You don't have to. You can play straight white male protagonist if you want. You can play however you want. And again, people are getting angry that
inclusive.
You can. Exactly. It is again, and in this world, it makes sense. Like, take the politics out of it. It makes sense in this world. In this world where you can pick and choose your body parts at will, it makes sense that you can play and role play a character who can have bits of both. You know, you can have some masculine elements and some feminine elements. It makes sense, right? And like, what I don't understand is we've had like this kind of thing in films for years. I mean, going back into the 90s, there was some like, you know, I'm thinking of like Arnold Schwarzenegger films, like what's that one with the lady who has Total Recall. These kind of films used to explore these elements all the time, and it was never an issue. But now, because of the modern political landscape, it's suddenly an issue. And I'm like, I'm just not one of those people. I'm like, hey, if you don't want to buy the game because it offends you, just don't buy it. But like, don't try and convince us that we're bad for enjoying that kind of game. Like, you know, it's not at all. It's like, we can have, and you got to remember as well, I mean, there's more controversy as well. There's a lot more. The traditional games journalists are trying to attack it now by going like, oh, it doesn't represent black people, right? And I'm just like, again, it's a science fiction game in a made up world, but whatever. When people say, and we're gonna move on shortly, because this is a topic that, you know, I hate that we have to talk about it, but when people say we don't want politics in video games, this is what we're talking about. Like, this is a game that is about politics. It is about, you know, like issues and things like that. But that's not what we mean. When we say we don't want politics in video games, we want people to stop saying like, ban this game, or this game is wrong, it needs to be changed, or, you know, let's boycott this game because it does something that I don't like. That's the kind of thing we mean. And, you know, like I said, if you are offended by anything that Cyberpunk is displaying, that is your right. You're allowed to be offended. You don't have to buy it though, but don't tell me I'm bad for wanting to buy it. In fact, I'm getting to the point now where I might just buy multiple copies just to piss certain people off. Honestly, I might be like, hey, look, I've got a wall just full of Cyberpunk. But no, I have always said I side on the side of choice. If you give me more choices in a game, I'll be happy. Let me, especially if it's a role-playing game as well. Like the more different ways you can play an RPG, the better. Because if I play the game as a, standard white male protagonist, well, what if I go back and play it as a black female? Maybe the game changes. That's what I like. I like that kind of stuff. I like playing as different perspectives. I like role playing as different certain characters. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I think I'm really excited. And the people that are getting, I feel like a lot of people are just wanting to shit all over it because it's popular. And I feel like we have this with every popular game. There's always people that are like, oh, Fortnite, don't like that though. Just because it's popular and they want to be different and they want to stand out, or they want to tell you that you're wrong for liking the popular thing. And I just, honestly, the older I get, the less time I have for these kind of people. I'm just like, I'm going to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, that's fine too. Who gives a shit? But as politics aside, the game I think looks really interesting. I think it is going to be a smash hit success. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be really hard for them to drop the ball on this one, I think, unless they are lying in their marketing material, which I don't believe CD Projekt Red would do that. I mean, if we look at the marketing for The Witcher 3 and how the game came out, it was a very close match. They didn't oversell, in my opinion, they did not oversell The Witcher 3, so I trust them, and I really hope that they don't break that trust. But Ruby says in the chat, it's a game, people don't complain about aliens on Earth and how you get special powers. Yeah, exactly. It is a game, and not every game has to be entirely politically correct. But yeah, anything else you want to talk about Cyberpunk before we move on? No, you're gonna buy it?
It's another. I'm gonna wait to see because I'm not sure if it's my kind of game.
Yeah,
it very well could be. It very well might not be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait it out, and if it looks like something I would enjoy, then sure, I will happily. Again, I've never played a Witcher game, but from everything that I've heard about CD Projekt, I trust in them. So I trust that they will make the game that gamers want to play.
I also do. I mean, they talked about at the conference, they talked about how they'd improved from Witcher 1 to 2 to 3. And it's massive. Like even between 2 and 3, they're like completely different games. And I hope that, and they're talking about how they're trying to take that same philosophy with Cyberpunk, is that they're trying to be even better than they were with The Witcher. And I mean, that's a bold statement because I thought The Witcher 3 was a masterpiece. So I don't know. If it's just as good as The Witcher 3, I'll be more than happy because that game is my game of the century. Honestly, it is like so good. I mean, it's not like the best game. There are games that I enjoyed more, or games that had better stories, or games that, had better mechanics, but just the overall experience of The Witcher 3 was just so good that I just hope Cyberpunk is on the same level as that. But let's move on then. I don't think there's anything else from CD Projekt Red.
I think that was it. Witcher Edition.
Yeah, Witcher Complete Edition. I don't care about it. I've
every time.
Yeah, I've done The Witcher. It's becoming Skyrim at this point, but I've played it. I finished it. I probably will play it again before Cyberpunk. But let's move on to Xbox. We haven't done Xbox yet. I don't know why I went so high pitched there, but I got so excited about the Xbox. But Xbox, I'm going to start off with Halo. I'm going to go straight into Halo because it's my main takeaway from Xbox. Halo. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I used to love Halo. Halo, for those who don't know, was my favorite franchise for years. From the moment I played Halo 1, I could not wait for 2. And when I played 2, it was everything I dreamt and more, and I couldn't wait for 3. 3 came out and it was all right. I still loved it, but it was I won't say it was a letdown, but it wasn't as epic as Halo 2. But then came out Halo Reach, and Halo Reach, in my opinion, was amazing. And I even liked ODST. And then 4 came out and it was a bit of a letdown. And then 5 came out and it was a bit more of a letdown. And the multiplayer was crap. And I was just like, I think the franchise is dead, it's done. And so they announced Infinite last year's E3, and all they gave us was a tiny little teaser trailer. It was like less than 30 seconds long. It was basically just some Marines on a planet, which we now know is a Halo ring. And then you see the Master Chief's helmet, and then you see the ring, and that's it. And that was it. So this year, a lot of people, myself included, were hoping for more details, and we didn't get it. We didn't get any more details. We got another little trailer. It was a narrative little trailer. We saw, a Marine in space by himself on a Pelican, and he was all like, oh, I'm stranded. And then he bumps into Chief, and he takes Chief on board, and he wakes Chief up, and he's like, hi, Chief. And Chief was like, right, we need to do this. And he's like, oh, didn't you know we lost? And then you see the Halo ring.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second.
Go
Were
ahead.
you also expecting Chief to kind of like freak out and kill the Marine,
A
like
little
not knowing
bit.
what was going
A
on?
little bit. Like, I mean, that would be very out of character for Chief, but it did look a little bit like he was gonna like throttle him.
Yeah, I was expecting him to squeeze the neck, pull out a
A
gun, shoot
hundred
him, and
percent. Like, I don't know if that was intentional, if they did that by accident, because it did look like he was about to grab him and be like, "Where are they?"
exactly, yeah.
Which for anybody who I don't want, I'm trying not to spoil, but anyone who played 5 knows that there was a big deal between Chief and Cortana, and Chief basically went. I want to say he went renegade in 5, but he kind of went off on his own and was like, "No, I need to do this thing that I need to do, and if you don't accept that, well, you're in my way." And it wasn't really expanded upon as much as we thought it was going to be in Halo 5. We thought there was going to be this big fight between him and Locke, and it wasn't. It was one little spat, and then they were like, "Oh, okay, we're friends now." And that was it. But they did sort of start to build up this thought that, like, what if Chief went renegade? And I know with Halo 5, a lot of people were expecting that to be the story, that Chief went renegade, and now he's the bad guy. And knowing how powerful Chief is, knowing he is the hero of mankind, and knowing that he basically can't be beaten, like, what if he did go rogue? Like, what if he did become a bad guy? And that was like a really exciting thing that never happened in 5. And so maybe they're hinting at that in this game, but then he was like, okay, no, we need to go. And he still is the hero. And I mean, like, I don't know. I would love to see a story where Chief goes the bad guy, but at the same time, I'd be like, well, I want to play
Then
as Chief, so...
are you playing as Chief, or are you hunting Chief and trying to bring him down then?
Exactly, but this is
Because then
exactly
it's
what
not
people
Halo.
were speculating in the last game. They were like, is Chief going to be the bad guy? He wasn't at all. And so I don't know, but we do see that, you know, there is a Halo ring that is broken. So I don't know if this is one of the Halo rings we've seen before. I'm gonna be honest, I need a refresh of the entire story because there's a lot of it. But I'm like, is this a Halo ring that we've been on before? Is this like, the guy did say like, how long have you been out for? Because we've lost. And I'm like, well, what did we lose? Because in the last game we were fighting the Prometheans and I didn't really like them, but like, yeah, we kind of, I mean, in 4, we kind of were allies with the Covenant, and in 5, then we kind of weren't allies with the Covenant, and then it was kind of like, oh, but now there's different factions of the Covenant, and some of them are good, and some of them are bad, but then we had the whole, like, you know, Cortana storyline, which I'll try not to spoil, just in case you haven't played it, but that was really interesting, and in the first thing you see when Chief, boots up his system, his OS, his hard drive boots up, whatever, is that he takes his AI chip out, and there's nothing there. And so they're obviously acknowledging that, you know, the Cortana thing is going to be a thing. But they've kind of come out and said it's a soft reboot of the franchise. And some people are a little bit like, what do you mean by that? And I'm kind of one of them. But at the same time, I'm like, it goddamn needed it. Because from the moment Bungie left Halo, that series went downhill quickly. And 4 and 5, in my honest opinion, were massive flops. And I don't know. I feel like if they keep saying they're going back to Halo's roots, making it what made it great again. And I hope that they have. I hope that they are. But I just want to know how. I'm like, well, what as in? I've heard rumors that it's going to be like an open world live service. But the people that were saying this, I'm like, nah, it won't be. Like, I honestly would. I'm not really a gambler, but I would bet money that it ain't going to be an open world live service experience. If it is, that series is done. Like, this is its last chance. And if it does that, it's done. So I'm hoping we get a solid campaign because we didn't in 4 and 5. I'm hoping we get a solid multiplayer because we didn't in 5. So we'll see. I want a good Halo, man. Are you a fan of Halo? Do you like?
So I would consider Halo 2 probably my favorite FPS multiplayer, whatever you want to call it, of all time.
Okay, so same as me, yeah.
You know, I really didn't have anyone to play Halo 1 with, so I never got to play multiplayer there. Played through the campaign, played through campaign of 2. Once I was done with the campaign, my nights for months, if not years, was get home from work at 1 a.m., play with the boys until about 5 a.m. And I had a small
Exactly the
clique of
same
people
for
that I
me,
played with
except
every night.
it was after school, and it was every night after school, and then on the weekends. So Halo 2 was the first game that I really played multiplayer. I mean, I played WoW, but it's kind of different. But like Halo 2 was the first like game that I did LAN parties with it. I did pretty much every night after school, or at least every weekend. My mate would come over, we'd play it, and then if we could get more people, we'd have more people, and we'd play more local co-op. And then as I like got a little bit older, I started playing it online, and you know, when Xbox Live became a thing, I started playing Halo 2 like every night online. I actually got quite good at it, and yeah, I'm 100% on the same. You know, it engrossed me for years. But sorry, carry on.
Yep. No, that's about it. I mean, very honestly. So I mean, I've played one other Halo game, and I honestly can't tell you if it was three, four, or five. I don't remember.
Hmm.
I bought Master Chief Collection, hoping to kind of relive the glory of Halo 2
Yeah.
online, and it had its problems, so
Yeah.
that didn't really happen so much. Um, Again, like everything else, and especially because we're talking about 343 versus Bungie,
Hmm.
I'm tentatively excited because the online multiplayer should be very good, but they've also butchered a lot of online multiplayer in the other games.
Yeah.
So,
Fives
to
was
be totally
terrible.
honest,
They tried so hard to monetize
there's
it.
I was going to say, I remember there was one with loot boxes, so it might be five that I
It
last played then.
I can't remember because I did not play much of Five's multiplayer at all, so maybe I missed the loot box way. But they had card packs basically, like they were, you got the pack and you could then spawn in a vehicle or a weapon with them, which put you
Yeah,
like a
that sounds
distinct
right.
advantage. Because if you spawn like a, it used to be in Halo you would have this fixed stuff on the map, so that was where the Scorpion spawns, that's where the Banshee spawns, this is where the I don't know, the plasma pistol spawns, and that was it, right?
Hmm.
And you could mix it up and change it and all that, but that was how it worked. And with Halo 5, they made it so like you didn't get any vehicles, you had to spawn them in with
Do not like.
packs. So you could spawn in a Scorpion, and if no one on the enemy team can spawn in a rocket launcher or another vehicle, you would just dominate, because it was like, well, no one can stop me because
Yeah,
Scorpions are so powerful. Or I remember one match I played, like one of my first matches, somebody spawned in a Wraith, and we just couldn't get close to it because it was like, well, we don't have the tools to take it down because you haven't balanced the game like you used to. Like each side of the map was balanced. You have base A and base B, and they might have different weapons. One might have a sniper and one might have a rocket launcher or whatever, but they were like balanced against each other.
exactly.
And so you've taken that
Exactly.
away and fucked it all up
You knew
with card packs.
you knew where to go. You knew where the weapons were going to be. You
Exactly.
knew that if they had I think it was the Ghost that was in the air, or was that the Wraith? I don't remember
The
now.
Banshee was the flying one.
Okay, so if they had a Banshee, you knew that, okay, here's the rocket launcher. Let me get over to that so I could bring this
Yeah.
son of a bitch down.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Because I remember in Halo
and
2, one of my favorite maps on Halo 2 was, it was a smaller map and it was like a suspended platform. And there was a bit where you could drop down, and the bit where you dropped
I
down
know
had a
which one you're talking
shotgun.
about.
Yeah, it had a shotgun. And so that was like one of the hottest parts on the map because the shotgun was so powerful because it was such a small map. And so you could you could do really good with the shotgun. So everybody used to go and fight over the shotgun. And so you knew that that was a hot bit. So you didn't drop in there unprepared. You usually throw a grenade down first or whatever. And so like this was the whole point. Like the game was so well crafted. The multiplayer was so well crafted. It was so balanced and so tuned and so, like so iconic that when it came around to 5, and it was a clusterfuck. It was a clusterfuck of, well, who's got the better packs, who's got the better spawns, and it was just, I hated it. I hated everything about it. They tried, the time to kill was off as well, so it felt more Call of Duty-fied. Like, I just didn't like anything about Halo 5.
If they could return to the magic that was 1 and 2 multiplayer, I will be all in. I will
Same.
play it. Honestly, probably on Xbox, probably not PC because I'm not very good. I'm good with Call of Duty with a controller.
Yeah.
Keyboard mouse, terrible, and I don't know why. Because Overwatch, I'm pretty decent in.
Hmm.
Other
It's what
games,
you're
I'm pretty
used to,
decent in.
though. Like, if you've played Halo for years with a controller, you'll be used to that. I mean, I personally
Exactly.
would play it on PC because all of my shooters now I prefer on PC. In fact, like Battlefield 4, I sunk so many hours into PlayStation 4 version, and then I got my PC, started playing PC gaming, went back to Battlefield 4, just could not play it. I can't snipe, I can't shoot with a controller anymore.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm so much better with keyboard mouse now, but for whatever reason, and I don't know, like I said, for Call of Duty, so I'm kind of worried that it's going to be the same with Halo.
But no, play how you want, and I like that Xbox are coming out with a lot more cross. Like you buy it on one, you can play on both. That's pretty cool. I mean, I really do want to play Halo on a PC. So I hope it all comes out at the same time. We'd have to wait for a PC version, but I'm interested. I will give them a chance. I will give 343 a final chance, because honestly, the 2 games that they've come out with, if we don't count the Master Chief Collection, but the 2 games they've come out with so far have been very subpar. Like, they have taken a franchise and they have done nothing with it, and the things that they have done have been objectively worse than what we had before. So I really hope that they make good on their promise, and if they don't, that'll be it. Halo is dead. It's dead. It's donezo. We haven't had a Halo game in a while now, not a new one. So I hope that time away, and I hope they've been given the right amount of time to work on it and make it good. I don't know. I don't want to say that like only Bungie can make a good Halo, but I almost wish that they would give it back to Bungie at this point, knowing that Bungie have gone back
Definitely.
to, you know, being a standalone. I know they weren't technically, they didn't get taken over by Activision Blizzard like other companies did, but they were, you know, they were basically in partnership with Activision Blizzard. Now that they're not, I kind of hope that they would give it back to them, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, this is the last chance. So 343, don't fuck it up, because if you do, swear to God, swear to God. But we'll see. They said they're taking it back to its roots. We'll give them that chance, but I'm not getting too excited about it until I see gameplay. I want to know details. I want to know exactly how the multiplayer is going to go. I want to know, I don't want to know too much about the campaign, but I want to know, I want to see it. I want to see some of the campaign, you know, like I want to see, we fight in the Covenant. I hope so, because I really didn't like the Promethean enemy types. I just didn't. I found them so boring. We've done robots.
I didn't even know they added something else.
So in 4 and 5, they had the Prometheans, which the backstory behind them was interesting to a degree, and I actually have like a whole theory about what they were going for. So in 4 and 5, essentially these new enemy types were humans who were converted into a digital form. And so when they were, this was basically their way of surviving the flood. So rather than use the Halo ring, so it came out in the story that there were like different factions of the Forerunners. So you had like the military faction, and then you had like the other faction, and essentially like one of the factions wanted to fix the flood problem by eradicating all of the life, but because of that they were like, well, how do we stay alive? So their plan was to digitize themselves, and that's how they were going to live on. But not everybody liked that plan. They were like, I don't want to be digitized. So they came up with the arcs, and so there was all these different kind of political machinations going on, which is interesting. But it turns out that they did actually, you know, convert a portion of the Forerunners, because we know Forerunners are just human now. Same DNA, right? They're not exactly the same, but they're the same DNA. So they digitized themselves and gave themselves new bodies, which were essentially non-organic. And so you have these like, you know, enemies that have like skulls in their like in their casings and stuff like this. So it's interesting, but they just were really boring to play against. They just had no soul. Whereas with the old enemies, with the Covenant, you know, you had your grunts, which were kind of funny, but they could also kill you if you weren't careful. They were really weak, but in packs, you know, sometimes they had rocket launchers, but they had their sticky grenades, and if you weren't careful, they could kill you, but it wasn't likely.
Yeah.
And then you had the elites, which were like, they were actually elite, especially some of them, the more, you know, higher ranking ones with the swords and stuff like that. They were like deadly, especially on higher difficulties. And then they introduced the brutes, which I thought were a really interesting new one when they added those into Halo 2. You know, the brutes were cool. They had their own hierarchy, and they were very much more aggressive than the elites. Like, they would just run at you and drop their weapons if you know, shot them enough. And there was all these different, and then the jackals with the snipers. There was all these, it was really cool. They had a solid, like, enemy lineup. And then the Prometheans just came out, and they were just so boring. They were just robots. They were just robots, and one of them teleported, which was a really annoying mechanic, by the way, because you'd be shooting it and it would teleport behind you.
Would you have liked it better if they were zombies?
Well, we have the flood zombies essentially, and we already they're essentially zombies, same kind of thing. So we already have that. So I'm just kind of like, no, I found the lore interesting, but they didn't do anything with them. They were really boring to fight, and you had the little dog ones, which were just little dog robots. And then you had the main ones, which were just, they weren't as fun to fight as the elites because they had no personality. You know, like one of the coolest things of Halo was when you got murdered by an invisible elite with a sword, then he just laughs at you. You're like, ward. Like, it was like, you little fucker. Like, they had so much personality to these AI enemies, and then these Prometheans just had none at all because they were literally robots. So after 2 games of fighting those Prometheans, I was done. And in Halo 5, which I'm coming to the conclusion that, well, maybe you did play it, but in 5, the same boss fight happened 3 times in that game. It was a copy paste, apart from in the final time you fought him twice, but it was the same boss, and it was so crap. It was such a crap boss fight. Like, they literally copied and pasted it, and I'm like, it was boring the first time. Why are you copying and pasting it? Like, oh god, it was so lazy.
That sounds absolutely terrible.
It was, and as somebody who loved Halo, and I know a lot of people weren't happy with ODST, but I really enjoyed it. I really loved that franchise, and 4 was a letdown, and 5 was pathetic for me. So I don't know. I'm really hoping that they make good on their promise, but I'll see it when I believe it. No, I'll believe it when I see it. You know, I'm not gonna take you on your word. If you've done 2 crap games in a row, don't expect me to get excited about your 3rd one just because you're saying it's going to be good, because I'm pretty sure you said 4 and 5 were going to be great. So we'll see. But anything else you want to add about Halo?
No,
No.
I have hopes, but they're not very high.
Yeah, same. I would be so happy if it is good. If it is great, if it does go back to a good Halo experience, I'll be happy. And I'll say it again. I hope the time away, because it has been a while since we had Halo 5. I hope the time away has allowed them to figure out what they needed to figure out, because technically the games were fine. They ran fine, they looked fine. The technical side of those games were all right. It was the story and the gameplay and the mechanics. So I hope they have time to figure out what they needed to, and that it is amazing, and then that will bring me back to being a Halo fan. In fact, the only collector's edition I've ever bought was for Halo Reach. I've never ever bought a collector's edition apart from Halo Reach. So that should tell you that I was a huge Halo fan. But we shall see. So what else does anything else come out of Xbox that was significant?
Significant?
We haven't
I've
done
never played a
Ubisoft
Gears
yet.
game.
Gears 5, I mean, I've said this before, the last Gears game I played just didn't impress me, so I'm not excited for Gears 5. I think it's the same thing, exactly the same story as Halo. I think it was a franchise that was amazing, it went shit, and I hope it becomes good again. And if it is, I'll play it, but I don't know, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Blair Witch is interesting.
You mean Alan Wake 2 question mark?
I honestly, I said when I was watching it, I was like, is this Alan Wake? Like, is this Alan Wake? It really does look like Alan Wake. But it looks interesting. Adam Parker, welcome in. I agree Gears isn't a hard-hitting title for Microsoft anymore. It's not. Most of Microsoft's big flagship titles, so Halo, Gears, all of these, petered off around the time, in my opinion, Microsoft started aiming more towards their business model and trying to screw gamers over with not having always being online and not having used games and all of that lot. A lot of people, I don't get involved in the Xbox versus PlayStation war. I joke just to annoy Ruby, but like I don't really give a shit. Like, you play whatever console you want. I have had an Xbox One on since launch, and I've had a PlayStation 4 since launch, and I haven't touched my Xbox in over a year. That should tell you something.
I'm the exact same.
They lost all of their main flagship titles, or they still had them, they just went crap, and they suffered because of it. And so I hope they turn it around, but we'll see. But back to Blair Witch. We saw nothing of it. It was a teaser trailer, which...
Exactly. Is it going to be the same as a Alan Wake, a walk around and mystery detective game?
It's definitely going to be horror. It's definitely going to be horror, which I like a horror game. I usually, I love the horror genre, so we'll see. But yeah, I want to get more info on it, but it looks interesting. It does look very much like Alan Wake, so if you like that kind of game, you might like that one, but we just haven't got enough information to tell you yet. You hope Halo doesn't turn into a looter shooter. I really hope Halo doesn't turn into a looter shooter, Adam. I won't buy it if it is. I won't even touch it. If it's a looter shooter,
wouldn't play it.
I won't buy it.
I love looter shooters, and I wouldn't play it either.
Yeah,
that's not what Halo is. If they
do
turn it into that.
Do you know what's funny? Like, I don't mind looter games, and I don't necessarily mind looter shooters because I like Borderlands. I just don't like the fact that looter shooters are... The only reason they keep making them is because they're so easy to monetize. That's it. That's all it is. It's like, oh, it's an easy cash grab, and this is why I don't like them. Minecraft Dungeons. Are you a Minecraft fan at all? I don't know.
My experience with Minecraft is probably all of maybe an hour since its entire lifespan. I'm just not really big into Minecraft. I don't care about the entire crafting aspect. That said, it looks interesting. I enjoy dungeon crawlers. I would be interested to give it a shot at the right price. Full price title, no. If it's maybe $30, I don't know, maybe possibly at that point I would say, sure, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm interested because it just looks fun. From what we've seen so far, it just looks fun. It just looks like I don't want to say like a standard ARPG, but it does look like a standard ARPG / dungeon crawler. You run around with your friends and you hit stuff and they die and they probably drop loot. And I'm cool with it. It could be really, really fun. And if they just focus on making it a fun game, then great. If they focus too much on the monetization side of it, like Diablo did on launch, then I probably won't buy it. So I will say that there was a lot of co-op games this year, and I'm really looking forward to a lot of them because I want to play them with, my stream guys. I want to play them with the GGWP guys. I want to play them with Ruby. There's so many games that I want to play with people. So it's good to see co-op games, and that is a game that I feel like I could probably just pick up and have fun for a couple of hours and then put it down until next time. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that kind of game, honestly. What else we got from Xbox? Don't care about flight sims. Could not give any less of a shit.
12 minutes.
12 minutes. You're going to have to refresh me because this one's on my watch list. Which one was...
That's one
Oh,
that we don't.
yes.
It was top down, very mysterious, kind of
Yeah,
looks Groundhog Day-ish.
time
Where the
loop one.
story,
Yeah.
we don't really know much about it. We don't know how it's played. We don't know many details about the story. Kind of murder mystery-ish. Game appears to be played out of sequence, and you have to piece pieces together as you go through.
Yeah.
The game mostly takes part in the living room of the house, with one very small snippet of a bathroom and another very small snippet of the couple in bed.
Yeah.
It looks like it could have a very interesting take on storytelling, which is why I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
And again, without knowing much past that, it's hard to say, but it's one I'll be keeping an eye on as we move through its eventual life cycle.
Just very quickly before I talk about 12 minutes, because I have opinions. Adam asked a question: are we gonna bother with Scarlet now that Game Pass is coming to PC? Personally, no. I really don't like a lot of this. Like that, everyone seems to be trying to like revolutionize PC gaming or revolutionize. Everyone wants their own subscription model. Blah blah blah. I just want to buy games on a store and play them. Like I don't. I have no interest in Scarlet. I have no interest in any of these Xbox like Game Pass or anything. Like I really don't. I just want to buy a game, play it, and then when I'm done, I'm done. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just
I'm intrigued. I've owned basically every console since the NES.
same.
So for me to not have a console would be strange. Thinking back, I think the only console I've not owned since NES was Genesis.
So I did own we call them Mega Drives, but I owned both. Yeah.
I
didn't get a
believe
GameCube.
Mega Drive was something else here. In America, I believe Mega Drive came before Genesis.
No, I'm pretty
a
sure the
separate
Genesis was
console.
the Mega Drive. It was the same because we had it was the black one with the 3 buttons on the controller.
Yeah. Okay.
But the what was the classic version that they brought out recently? Because you've got like the SNES classic and then you've got a Nintendo. That's a Genesis classic, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the Mega Drive classic, so it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, it would be weird for me to not have bought a console. Period.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. There's going to be a lot of factors depending on price point.
Yeah.
And just overall size. If the thing's a massive brick like the one, I don't care. If the thing's quite a bit smaller and still has a lot of power, maybe possibly as a travel device, something I could bring around either when I'm traveling for business or just traveling to see people.
So my issue is the only reason I buy consoles anymore is for the exclusives. And so if the exclusives are coming to PC, I don't need to buy the console. So I'm just like, you know, and especially
something to be said about sitting on the couch and chilling as opposed to being in front of the computer.
I agree. But here's the thing. And at the moment, I'm confined to just this one room. So that's not an issue for me because my TV's there. If I really wanted to, I could just plug my PC into my computer and then use a controller and use it like a thing anyway. The only thing I will say is I would agree with you on that point, but now it's not that simple. You go to the store, you buy a game, you come home, you're like, I've got an hour, I want to play my game. You plug it in, you got to wait 3 hours for it to update. And then it's like, great. It's like it's becoming less and less of a value proposition for me, a console. Like, and this is what we were saying. If you didn't check out the Twitch streams that we did on E3, this is what me, Taylor, and Elliott were saying: is that a console should focus on the stuff that a PC finds a little bit more difficult to do. Because you're right, you can pick your console up, you can take it to your front room, plug it into a telly, and go. But then you have to do all the crap with the updates and installing the game. I can't just pick up my PC and take it to my front room. I mean, I could. It would be very, very difficult, you know. So they need to be focusing on that kind of stuff. Like they should be focusing on that. So that's the kind of point of the Stadia and Scarlet, though. There is no download. There is no wait. You buy the game and instantly play it. Yeah, but then the performance is probably going to be shit, though, JP. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't like a lot of this modernization they're trying to do. I just want to buy a game, install it, and go. But what I'm saying is that with a console, one of the advantages is the ease. One of the advantages is the ease of a console. You just put your disc in and go. We don't have that no more. You can't just put a disc in and play it. It's got to download. The performance is great. Have you seen it in action though, JP? I don't know. I don't trust this stuff. I don't trust It's like the whole I forget what the exact term is, but when you can have like a shadow PC or whatever they call it, like I just don't trust it. I'm like, no, I'll stick to my own PC. But anyway, my point is the only reason I buy a console myself is for the exclusives. So if the exclusives are coming to PC, I won't touch it. And here's the thing, like, I like that. I like that Xbox are making a concerted effort to bring their exclusives to PC, because as a PC player, I'm like, good, because it's my preferred platform anyway. The only, like, I would rather play The Last of Us on PC than on PlayStation. The sad fact is I have to play it on PlayStation because I've got no choice. So if you know, Naughty Dog were to say, hey, The Last of Us 2 is coming out on PC, I'd be a very happy guy. But you know, we know exclusives sell consoles. So using the Project Stream beta, I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey in my Chrome browser on a 200 megabyte connection. It played 1080p on max graphics with negligible latency. But what about people who have like bad internet though? Like, I don't know, like a lot of people in England don't have 200 megabytes. I know that sounds like I'm making that up. I'm not. A lot of people in England don't have 200 megabyte download connection. We don't. England is very behind. So they claim you can play 720p on a 10 megabyte. Won't play very well though. And like your internet drops out again, which I know, to be fair, that you know, argument could be said about 99% of games these days. If your internet drops out, you get booted out of it because every game is online now, and every game you've got to be signed into some fucking service or another. But I just for me, I'm not interested. You're not going to sell me on it. You're not going to sell me. The only way I would be sold on a console now is I can put the disc in and play from the disc. If I can play it offline with a disc like I used to be able to, I'm sold. Other than that, no, I don't want any of this bollocks. But I'm not saying that you can't have it. I'm not saying that it's not good for you. But for me, the only good point of a console is its ease, and things that like putting a disc in and just playing straight from the disc, not from a download, is, in my opinion, an ease. It's something that's good. It's something that a console had over a PC for many years and now doesn't. So every single console generation that comes out, I'm like, there's just less reason to buy this, more reason to pick up a PC. In my opinion, you know, obviously I am PC Master Race. But anyway, going back to 12 minutes, because we've gone on a whole other tangent, but going back to 12 minutes, I'm really, no, we'll come to that, Adam. I'm really interested in 12 minutes because, as you said, it is set in one room, and with the whole 12 minutes, I don't know if that means the game is set over 12 minutes or does the game reset every 12 minutes? I don't know, but I'm excited, and I think that the whole like being set to one room, being limited to just that one room with, you know, like the two characters, there was a third character shown, but I think that could make it even more interesting. You know, having that restriction, having it's literally the whole story set around this one little area could be really interesting. I'm really excited to see what they do with that like Groundhog Day elements. If you didn't see it, there's a time reset where something happens and then it goes back to the previous day again. So I'm really interested in that. I'm really interested in see how they go with that. Dayla, how you doing? I'm confused. Is this live now? So because we only had two of us, because one of us is in Poland and the other one is busy, not mentioning any names, Taylor. With just the two of us, I thought it would be easier to do it live, and then we can take questions from the chat. And I don't know, I find it easier with a two-person format. But how are you doing, Taylor? So you believe the game consists of a 12-minute period that you repeat over and over again. Something bad happens in that 12 minutes, you're playing to try and change it. That's what you took from the video. So the only thing why I think that might not be the full case is, I mean, well, it might be 12 minutes of game time, because in the footage that we saw, it went from night to day. So the game started at nighttime, and then something happened, and then it went back and it was daytime. So there's clearly like a day-night element, and so I'm not really like sure, does the 12 minutes mean like 12 game time minutes or 12 minutes in the game, like in the time? Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. But it's interesting. It's interesting. And I think that I kind of hope it's one of those games where, you know, you need to kind of figure out what the next thing is to do. So let's just say, I don't know, making it off the top of my head, let's just say you need to find a letter and it's in the room. And if you don't find it within the 12 minutes, you fail because of something. And then you go back and you've got to figure it out. And I hope that's kind of what it is. But does look very interesting, and it looks like a small game. I don't know who developed it, but it's, you know, it's, I want to kind of say it's indie. It looks indie, it feels indie.
I don't see a name,
but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think that it looks pretty good. It looks, in my opinion, pretty good. So I'll be playing that. So Adam Parker asks, do you guys talk about the $180 Elite controller yet? If you pay, this is just my opinion, if you pay $180 for a controller, you're an idiot. You watched some of that video you
don't
sent
want to pay
me?
60 for a controller.
No,
I
me
think
neither.
60 is
Me neither.
overpriced. At this
I think
point,
so.
but
With the controller, I think it's a fine idea. Like, I have no problem with the controller. I know some people are saying that the original controller was a bit fragile. Like, people are saying that they dropped it once and it broke, and that's not good. But like, from the idea of a controller, as somebody who I play most of my games with keyboard and mouse, like 90% of my games with keyboard and mouse, but I do play some games with a controller. I play platformers with controllers. I played The Witcher 3 from start to finish on the hardest difficulty on Death March with a controller. Some games I prefer controllers. I still wouldn't play $180 for a controller. Like, fuck that. I mean, even if you're a main, like an Xbox main, if you only ever play Xbox, even so, like that's half the price of a new console for a controller.
the
It's
way that
grossly
I look at it,
overpriced.
I look at it as the Elite controller is for your pro gamers.
Yeah, but even
because it
then,
allows you to change the
like,
sticks and everything. I can
still,
see a market for it. Obviously, we're not that market, and that's completely okay.
yeah.
Um, and there's
I don't
definitely
know.
times where I've said to myself, I wish that I could do this easier, and knowing that the triggers in the back of the controller make it simpler. Um, I'm with you. I would never pay 180
Yeah.
for. I think it's absolutely anybody who does it is out of their fucking mind, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, if you're gonna pay that amount for a
but there's a
controller, I
market.
want it to be like gold plated or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I want, and like, again, I'm not saying that the controller looks bad. I think it looks good. I think like it looks like a good controller. Like, if that came with the console, I'd be really happy. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not saying it should, but to charge that amount is ridiculous. And I feel like they're going for status at this point. They're like, it's almost like they're selling a car. You know, you buy a sports car for the status. It's the same thing. You buy the Elite controller for the status.
That's
But
fair.
here's the difference. You buy a sports car, some people might be like, oh, hey there, you have a sports car. You buy this, people are gonna be like, who gives a shit? Like, so what? Like, you're not impressing anybody by
Hold
buying
on.
a...
You're telling me that I'm not going to find a wifey by going over my, hey girl, I got an Elite.
See how many thumbsticks I have. No, it's not gonna work. But this, I don't know what I'm saying. Like, I just
I'm
don't...
doing it all wrong.
They're grossly overpriced for it, I think. I just don't see what the advantage is to spending that amount of money. I'd rather put it towards literally anything else. You know, that's like, what, how many $60 games is that? Three $60 games. 3 games. Yeah, it's too much. But yeah, okay, we'll talk about what I'm not going to talk about the video that I sent you on the podcast, Taylor. I'll talk about that outside of the podcast, but sure. Maths, shut up. We're on a chain around your neck, just in the club, just in the nightclub with the Xbox Elite controller. It get nicked. That's the problem. It get nicked, and we'll be like, yeah, mine. But no, honestly, you're an idiot if you spend that much money on a controller. I expect a price drop very shortly after launch. But yeah, 12 minutes looks good. I think that's pretty much everything on Xbox.
I mean,
Because
the only other thing that I saw that I was like, yeah, hype was Battletoads.
you're a
And
Battletoads fan, though, aren't you?
exactly.
Yeah. Which a lot of
Exactly.
people are really angry about Battletoads. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube video on the thing. It's got a lot of downvotes. In fact, it's got more downvotes than upvotes.
Really?
A lot of people aren't happy with the
No, I'm
graphics.
surprised.
A lot of people are saying
Um,
it should be this, should be that. I personally don't care because I
It's
don't know if I ever played Battletoads.
it looks like a dumb fun couch co-op game.
Yeah,
That
which
said,
again, so
I'll
I'm
never
glad
play it
Taylor's here because
because
this is what we were talking about. The more couch co-op, the more co-op in general, the better. You know, like we need that shit, especially on
yeah.
consoles.
If I had people to play it with and I don't, I would pick it up, so I won't.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. You know,
Yeah,
it looks
I'd
like
play
it's
it.
fine.
I'd play it, no problem. You know, if someone's like, "Hey, you want to play Battletoads?" I give it a go. I give it a go.
Exactly. It looks fine. If people hate it, it's because they were expecting something not as cartoony.
That's
Whatever.
one of the main criticisms. Yeah, they were like, "It should look better. It should look this. Should look that." And I'm just like, honestly, I actually kind of like the art style. I think it looks all right. Like, but again, I'm not a Battletoads fan, so I don't know. Maybe it doesn't capture what they wanted it to capture, but
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's pretty much Xbox. We still got Nintendo to go through, so we're gonna move on to Nintendo now because I know Guz didn't watch Nintendo, or you watched like a recap of it, didn't you?
I spoke to people, and that was my takeaway from Nintendo.
I just want to quickly talk about Nintendo because honestly, it was pretty much all good stuff. I don't want to talk about all of it. I want to talk about Pokemon, and I want to talk about Zelda, but only very briefly. So I'll bring up the list of Nintendo games. Where is the list of Nintendo? I cannot find it. There we go. So, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, just very quickly going to go. I haven't finished the first one yet, but the first one was a smash hit success, so sequel, good. You know, great
Makes
game.
sense.
Everyone loves it. Sequel, cool. The trailer looked interesting, and I do want to finish the first one because it was good from what I played. I just, time. So great. Luigi's Mansion 3, I really like the look of it. Like, we were saying, Taylor and I were saying, like, I would really like to play that with people because it looks fun. So I don't know if you saw any of it, but it's essentially just again, co-op. I don't know if it's couch co-op or online co-op because it's Nintendo, but it's co-op. You play as Luigi, you chase ghosts around a mansion, and you have like a Ghostbuster machine and you suck them up. And then there's Gooigi, which everyone's going crazy for, which is literally like a goo version, like Slimer from Ghostbusters, but Luigi. And he will, if he walks over a grate, he falls through it because he's made out of goo. So obviously he falls through it. So there's lots of like fun, wacky, stupid, humor in that game. I think it'll be fun.
That sounds so fucking stupid.
Exactly. But like, it's a kid's game essentially, but for adults, I feel like it could be one of those games you have a couple of beers and just really enjoy it. Don't know how long it's going to last because it's probably going to be quite easy, but fun, like, as I've said this so many times, Nintendo is the only company that seems to be, or one of the very few companies anymore that seems to just want to make fun games. They just make fun, and not every game is fun to everybody because not everybody's going to like every game, but like, they just care about making fun, and that's what we need. So I'm cool with it. Animal Crossing, literally don't give a shit because I've never played an Animal Crossing game, and from what I saw of the gameplay, I don't think I will play this one. Go ahead.
Excited.
Do you like Animal Crossing?
I put a very fair amount of time into the original GameCube version.
It's got a hardcore audience. People love that game.
Yeah, and that was the only version I played. But again, I put a lot of time into it. I had a separate save. My then girlfriend, she would come over. She had her house, and if she wasn't over and playing, then I would have my house that I would build through.
Yeah.
And you got to collect all this stuff and build your house and put your furniture in. It had an emulator to play old school Nintendo games, which I thought at the time was incredible.
That's pretty cool.
I'll probably pick it up. The only problem is the style of the game. You have to play it every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have the opportunity to do that. I'm not going to put in an hour at a time to make sure all the weeds are cleaned up, and I don't have the time to do that anymore. So depending on...
The thing with me is, like, I should like it because I like things like Stardew Valley, but it just looks too simplistic for me. Like, it doesn't seem like, I don't know.
There's no crafting from what I recall, so it's definitely a little bit more simple.
There is crafting in this one, but it's very simple crafting. Okay. They crafted an axe, and it really triggered me because she crafted an axe, and it was like, you crafted an axe, but she held up a toolbox, and I'm like, that's not an axe. Show me the axe. But yeah, so there is basic crafting.
Things.
Yeah, so I don't know, for people who like Animal Crossing, sure, no, it's fine. For people, I didn't actually hear you, to be honest. But no, for people who like Animal Crossing, great, you've got a game. I know people have been waiting for years for one. I'm just personally, I just don't think it's my game.
I'll buy it. I'll probably never play it.
Well, you're the perfect demographic, aren't you? Yep. Pokemon Sword and Shield, which has angered some people. So from what we saw of Pokemon Sword and Shield, I'm super excited. As somebody who was a massive Pokemon fan as a kid, I love Red, Blue, Silver, Gold, Yellow, obviously. Ruby, Sapphire, I think were the last two that I ever really properly played. But I loved them as a kid, and I really enjoyed Pokemon Let's Go. I streamed it and had a hell of a lot of fun with it. As basic as it was, as it wasn't the most technically genius game ever. It was just fun. I liked it. And so they showed off Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it looks like a hybrid between Pokemon Let's Go and Zelda, A Breath of the Wild. Like, there was this huge open world section that looked like something straight out of Breath of the Wild, except you had like this field and they had like Pokemon all running around it, and you could go and catch them and fight them. And I was just like, yeah, I'm sold. I'm on board. I'm down for it. But a lot of people are getting super angry because in pretty much every Pokemon game on a handheld console up until now, you can apparently get like every Pokemon in that game. Like, you can transfer them from other games and bring them in, and so you can have like the full complete Pokedex. But in this one you can't, and a lot of people are super angry because they're like, it's not a complete Pokemon game, durr. But I'm like, yeah, but here's the problem, right? When you're playing handheld games, DS games essentially, where the graphics are pretty much 2D, the Pokemon in the fight are pretty much 2D, it's a lot easier to put a lot more Pokemon in. When you're talking a massive open world game like this, well, apparently not the whole world is open world, but like there are these huge open world segments and everything's fully 3D rendered, and you've got all these massive Pokemon fights. They've got like giant Pokemon fights now as well, where you like do a raid boss. So you have like one Pokemon and then you like 4 of you fight it, which is cool. But You can't have all like 800 Pokemon in a game like that. Like, imagine the download. Imagine the download if you were to fully 3D render 800 Pokemon. Like, people are so freaking unrealistic. Like, people need to like learn how life works. Like, imagine how long that would take for a start, and then who the hell could download? Because you've got to download the games on a a Nintendo Switch. Like, it wouldn't fit on the Switch. You'd need like a terabyte hard drive for your Switch to render 800 Pokemon in 3D. Like, come on. But people are angry about it. And I'm just like, the game actually looks, in my opinion, it looks fantastic. It looks like
people
a Pokemon.
Will find anything to be angry about.
I know. But it's the Pokemon fans that are getting angry. But like, I've never seen a Pokemon game look this good. It looks so good. It's the first time we've had like this open world kind of Pokemon game. And yeah, I just think it looks great. But people are angry. Whatever. That was pretty much the main takeaways from Nintendo. There was a couple of other games that look interesting, but I honestly don't really want to talk about them. I've not really got anything to say.
I really don't. Actually, looking at the list, Mario Maker 2. I love Mario Maker. I'm excited for it on Switch.
I've never played it. I've never played it.
It's fun because, I mean, you get Mario fans' interpretations of what a Mario level can or should be.
Yeah.
And I had the original on Wii U, and I made like 10 courses or so. You know, I'm not going to say that I was an all-star and that people love my levels, but it had a ranking system and whatnot, and I saw that people liked some of the levels that I did, and I was like, all right, that's pretty cool that people thought that this was a cool interpretation.
Yeah, no, I don't hate the idea of it. For me, I'm not a huge fan of the incredibly difficult stuff, and so I probably would avoid that.
Some people definitely make troll levels that are impossible. Some people make the Kaizo levels, which are very possible, but you're going to waste about 6 days doing it.
Yeah,
and I'm with you.
Time for that.
No, definitely not. But I like the easier levels that people create to see what their creativity level can be.
Yeah, and I think I know that the last game was very popular, and that's probably why. And hey, I'll probably give it a go, because I have a Switch now. I haven't been a Nintendo fan for years. I mean, the last Nintendo console I had before my Switch was my N64, and I had a DS, but that was it. So I skipped over the whole Wii and Wii U generation. I wasn't interested. And so I'm kind of like a resurgent Nintendo fan. So I really enjoyed, and I've said this a few times, I bought Super Mario U, I think it was. Super Mario U, they brought it to the Switch. I think it was a Wii U game, but they brought it to the Switch. I just really enjoyed it. It was just a standard Mario game, but it was fun. You could play it co-op with people. I'd never played a Mario game co-op before like this. It was great. Don't play it co-op. It's freaking hard because people throw you off the edge on purpose because they think it's hilarious.
And Mario Maker has...
Okay, your mic is cut out.
Is this better? I was super far. Okay, sorry.
It might be the noise gate. No, it's okay.
Yeah, 2 will have that. It'll have 2 versions of co-op. One where you could just mess with each other, or 2 where you actually have to work together to solve puzzles. So
okay,
it's good.
Again, I said it before. I don't know if Taylor's still here, but we were saying this when we were watching it on Twitch. I'm really like more multiplayer, more co-op, more local co-op. Local co-op, please, more of that shit. But more co-op and games like that I can play with my friends. Yes, please. Because again, for consoles especially, that is their one unique selling point at the moment for me. You know, if I bring my Switch to someone's house, I can play with them. If they come over to my house, we can play on the couch with the PlayStation together. We're not going to really... Well, we could do that PC, but it's not as good. So yeah, you know, more of these, please. But yeah, I'll give it a go if I can afford it. Fire Emblem, don't care. Cadence of Hyrule, I haven't played Crypt of the Necrodancer yet. I own it, haven't played it, so I'm not going to get excited for a Zelda version of a game that I've not played.
It's interesting. I picked it up last night. It's fine. I only put like 30 minutes in. It's roguelite that when you die, but you do keep some of your stuff and get to start over.
I like that shit. Yeah. I've actually just been totally off topic. I've been playing Enter the Gungeon again. I played it last night and this morning, and like I'm just enjoying it again. So yeah, I like that kind of game. So maybe I should play Crypt of the Necrodancer first and see how I like it. But yeah, that's pretty much Nintendo. There was nothing there that made me go like, ugh, what is this crap? There were some games that I went, I'm just personally not interested in, but they still looked good. A lot of them look really fun. So big fan of Nintendo, and if they keep making the quality of the games they have been doing, then perfect. We haven't done Ubisoft yet. We need to do Ubisoft.
Well, I was going to say, actually, since you mentioned Enter the Gungeon, that might be a good segue into Devolver.
Do you want to do Devolver? We'll talk about Devolver. We'll do Devolver first. I definitely want to touch on Ubisoft before we go. But yeah, we'll do Devolver. What did you think of Devolver? Because I do have opinions, but I also am in the weird spot where I'm like, I don't really know what I watched. I don't know what's going on.
It was interesting to say the least, and I don't see them on this list. Why do I not see them? Am I missing them?
Well, like, probably because the person who compiled this list is like, I don't really know what games they're bringing
I don't
out.
know what I saw.
Yeah,
Okay.
is it under the miscellaneous? Sorry, guys, we have the list up just in case we forget anything.
Yeah, I don't see anything here. Okay.
Yeah.
So Devolver, super interesting. A weird little story that they told with their presser, whatever you want to call it, keynote.
Yeah.
There was one game that they announced that I enjoyed probably over all others, and it's a dumb battle royale game.
Mm.
If anybody is familiar with, I think it was called Mega Extreme Challenge.
Are we talking about the one where you're playing as like the jelly people?
That's the one, Fall Guys.
Yes. Okay, carry on.
If anybody's familiar with, I believe it's called Mega Extreme Challenge, and it was a Japanese game show.
It looks very much like Takeshi's Castle or Takeshi's Castle.
And that was the other thing that I've heard. I've never actually seen Takeshi's Castle, so
great
I can only
show.
like
Watch it. It's fucking hilarious.
MXC. MXC, at least what it was, and it actually might be Takeshi's Castle. It was Japanese game show, ridiculous obstacle courses, not so much like Wipeout, but like, your boulders falling at you and you have to duck the boulder.
Yeah.
But then they did American dubbing over it, kind of like MST3K style, to make it hilarious.
Okay.
And as soon as I saw this, that's immediately what I thought of. And I was like, I'm in. I want this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Fuck, I want this yesterday.
Yeah, it looks so much fun.
It looks very over the top. It keeps with the whatever of Battle Royale, me versus 99 other people.
Mm-hmm.
But to an extent, you have to work together, it looks like, on some of them. Like, you get on a giant skateboard and you have to work with the people on your board to knock out the other people.
I'd be really interested to see if the show that we're talking about is the same show, just with a different network. Because the show that I'm talking about was a Japanese game show. But they dubbed over it with Craig Charles, who played, I forget his name, Lister in Red Dwarf. And he used to be in Robot Wars. And so it's just him just commentating over it. So it's like, the idea of Takeshi's Castle was there was 100 people at the start, and if you got knocked out in that round, you didn't go through to the next one, and so they dwindled down, kind of like a Battle Royale. And a lot of it was like water, so you'd have like a skipping stones one, but some of the skipping stones like went down if they jumped on it, like they weren't fully fixed, so you had like that. And I know that like some of the games in the actual game are like basically carbon copies of Takeshi's Castle. Like there was one where you had a series of walls, and each wall had doors in it with like doors, but some of them were actually like doors, like wood, and some of them were paper, and so you had to run through it. And if you ran through it and it was paper, you got through to the next door. But if you ran through it and it was wood, you were out. So, sorry, I hit my mic. So that is literally the same thing in the game. It's like you don't know which door is the right one, so you got to just guess. And so there's a lot of these like levels in the actual game that are like pretty much heavily inspired from Takeshi's Castle. So I wondered if it is just the same show with different commentary, honestly.
Very well could be. But yeah, honestly, the game looks so stupid. Looks so dumb.
Stupid fun.
Yeah, in the best way possible.
I agree. I feel like, so apparently it is up to 100 players as well. And I know I was watching Angry Joe's opinions on this one, and he was saying it's the perfect stream game. Like if you you don't have to get 100 people, even if you get like 20 people or 30 people out of your stream all playing it together.
If it allows you to.
Yeah.
If it allows you to. It might just be random match me. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure a game like that, they're going to give you a room code. Like they'll be stupid if they didn't.
I hope so.
That would be so much fun to play. It kind of reminds me of an evolution of Human Fall Flat. You know, it's not the same it's not the same mechanics as Human Fall Flat, but it's the same sort of game. It's just a silly, dumb, fun game that people probably enjoy watching as much as playing. And I'm looking forward to that one too. I'll probably pick it up.
Awesome. Can't wait to play with you.
I hope it's not too expensive so many people can buy it and join in. You know, like I hope they go for that business model of being a bit cheaper so everyone can buy it, and then you can get lots of people, maybe gift a few copies to your subs or whatever. But like, yeah. I am definitely going to play that and stream it, and I hope it is just crazy dumb fun. It would be probably a drinking game too, probably one of those community night kind of games. I feel it'll be fun.
I'm all in.
Yeah. Honestly, we'll play it. But what else did Devolver have? I know they had like a sort of fighting game that looked funny where you were just throwing like rocks at each other. That kind of looked funny, but
Yeah, so that was actually at the pre-show.
yeah, I watched
So
a bit of it.
yeah, so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because I'm still a little bit confused about the pre-show.
Oh, we all are.
Um, so in the main panel or whatever you want to call it, they had that. They had the one where you play like that gelatinous blob and like pull people in with your tentacles. I
Yeah,
don't know what that was. They had the Devolver bootleg or whatever it was called, where it was like
which is available
makeshift
now.
versions of like Donkey Kong and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's like parody.
They had this weird Ninja Gaiden on vacation in the Tropic Islands game. The only one that I was interested in was Fall Guys, the one that we just discussed. Everything
Yeah,
else was kind of like, all right, this looks interesting. Um, and then we thought that the panel was over because they wrapped up the video,
yeah,
and they do what looks like a talk show, and it was very strange and it looked very public access, and I'm sure that was all very intentional.
yeah,
It looked very poorly put together by the fact that like people just were all over the place running around putting on costumes while they were filming,
yeah,
and they called that the pre-show, and that's when they did that weird rock game where I never got the name of.
yeah,
um and it seemed like an extension of the Devolver panel, but it took them forever to actually show anything. About an hour after that rock game,
yeah.
you had already went to bed,
Yeah, because we
and
didn't
then they
know if
showed,
they were still announcing stuff or what.
yeah,
Like we didn't know. Like they weren't really clear about it.
and then at some point then they showed Catherine, the PS, I think it was a PS3 game redone on PS4. Now they're coming out with a complete edition.
Yeah,
There's a new version of that coming out. And at that point, I was like, yeah, this is too late for me as well. I need to get to bed. So I don't know of anything else that they did announce.
yeah,
Um, so Devolver, I mean, in terms of presentation and just overall weirdness, which is what they go for, that was the other thing that they announced.
yeah,
Because we were talking about Enter the Gungeon,
yeah.
an Enter the Gungeon arcade cabinet.
I didn't see that. Well, what is that?
It's going to be an actual arcade cabinet. It's 2 players.
Oh,
It's a
sorry, I
bullet
did.
hell.
Yeah, sorry, I
And you get
did.
to
Yeah,
shoot your way through the dungeon.
yeah. No, I did see it because she was like this actual arcade cabinet in your actual homes and your actual
Yep.
faces. Yeah.
Yep.
I think with the Devolver thing, okay, so I know last year they came out with this very weird like conference last year, but it was very much, it had a message. And the message was like, look how corporate bullshit this is. And it was funny and it was true and it was so like relevant and it was great. And then this year I think they tried a bit too hard. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the Devolver, like I don't know what you want to
see what
call
you're
it, but
saying.
the like, you know, the skit. You know, I didn't hate it, but I did think they tried a little too hard to be a bit too edgy. I think, you know, I think it was interesting and I enjoyed it, but I do think I was a bit like, okay, so what's your point this year? You know, like last year I got that point. This year I'm like, I don't know what your point is this year, Devolver. But anyway, the pre-show though, I was a bit like, I like that kind of content, right? When I have time and I'm, you know, if there's something like a maybe not E3, I actually kind of like that sort of like improv on a couch, like us and our buddies. You know, I love them when Rooster Teeth do it as a good example, you know? Like, I kind of like that content. But when you've got people, I have no idea who you are. I have no idea what your point is. I have no idea why you're there. I have no idea what you're going to be announcing. I have no idea what the whole point. I just didn't get it. I was like,
It
why?
was it was okay, but the disorganization was worse. Even if it was supposed to look disorganized, the
Hmm.
disorganization looked disorganized to the
The
point
thing,
where I
the
was just
thing
like,
is though, is
this.
like I don't mind the disorganization if we know what we're there for. If you say to us, okay, hey, today we're gonna hang out and we're gonna show you these 3 new games and we're gonna have some fun with it and it's gonna be an hour, whatever. Cool. I don't mind the disorganization, and maybe that disorganization was a bit of a joke because E3 is so pre-planned and
Yeah,
polished and let's be fair, a lot of it's bullshit. Like a lot of it is that here's this, like you'll never see this section in the game, this is made up, it's made up bullshit. So maybe Devolver were like, hey, we're gonna like make a joke out of that and be like the most disorganized panel there ever was. But again, you still got to tell me why I'm watching. It kind of went from their very
and that's
weird, you know, showcase and a couple of announcements to, okay, now we're on a couch. Like I'm like, is it
and
over?
that's what I mean.
Is it
It
done? Like,
Even the level of disorganization, which I'm sure they planned for that disorganization to keep it pure,
mm,
it felt like even that itself was disorganized.
Yeah.
Over what they disorganized.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
to the point where like they're trying to show off that rock game and everything stops working. And then they like turn off the green screen. You see the guy in the background trying to change costumes, and he's like, "Fuck, this isn't the right piece."
Yeah.
It was just like it was supposed to look sloppy. It looked like an absolute car wreck.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Again, I missed most of the pre-show because it was like 2 a.m. when we were doing this and we were streaming. We were all tired. We all wanted to go to bed. So we kind of just were like, we don't need to watch this. But I feel like, you know, if you're going to do something like that, then at least tell me why I'm here so I can tune out or not. And if they'd have said, hey, we're going to announce some more Devolver games and it's going to be crazy and wacky and stupid, I'd be like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll stay up. But I just went to bed and I don't feel like I missed much. But
no,
yeah,
I agree. Like I said, I turned it off.
I think Fall Guys, as I've just thought about it, Human Fall Flat and Fall Guys, I think there might be a bit of a reference there. But yeah, it definitely looks interesting. That was my main one out of Devolver, and I think it's going to be pretty good. So I always like those wacky kind of games. So yeah. Should we move on to... Do you have anything more to say about Devolver before we move on to Ubisoft? Ubisoft?
Well, I don't know if you want to finish with Ubisoft, because there was also the PC showcase where it was just a bunch of random stuff.
We can talk about PC, absolutely. Let me flick it over. PC Gaming Show, it was called.
Yeah, there was a couple of things on there, and unfortunately now I can't remember any of them. That was really interesting.
Yeah, let me see if we got the list up, because there was a couple of things on the list. Because there was various. I have a list here. Mosaic, was that on the PC Gaming Show? Midnight Ghost Hunter, that was the
one that I wanted to talk about. Yes,
Midnight Ghost Hunter. We'll talk about that. So Midnight Ghost Hunter, or Midnight Ghost, I keep calling it Midnight Ghost Hunt, is essentially a Garry's Mod game made into a game. And we've had these before. We've had Garry's Mod mods turned into, like, you know, sort of mini games fleshed out. And this looks kind of like Prop Hunt. I've never played Prop Hunt, but I've seen it be played. So it kind of looks like Prop Hunt turned into an actual game. So if you didn't see it, essentially you have two teams of, I think, 4 people. Is it 4v4?
4v4, yes.
Yeah, so you have 2 teams of 4v4, and one team is the hunters and one team is the ghosts. And the ghosts can hide and possess objects and things like that. And the hunters can, you know, use things to detect whether they are there, and they can stun them and knock them out. And then it turns to midnight, and once midnight happens, everything goes reds and the ghosts become super powerful, and you're pretty much screwed. But go ahead. What do you want to talk about the ghost Midnight Ghost Hunt?
Really? Sorry. That was both me thinking and old man moving.
The squeak wasn't the chair, was it? It was you. It was your bones.
I mean, a little bit of both. Yeah, I'll admit. The game looks. Again, it looks a great stream game. It looks super fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that it's definitely up there on my list of things I'm interested in waiting to play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really don't know. Even with the amount that they showed us, there's really not a whole lot to say about it. It just looks like it's going to be an absolute quick carnage match, 4v4. Your match lasts maybe like 10 minutes, get in, get out, move to the next match.
Yeah, I agree. It looks very simple, but then again, a lot of these Garry's Mod games were very simple. I don't know how that kind of game is going to do in 2020. I'm assuming it's 2020 it's coming out. Like, I don't know if they still have the same sort of viewing audience that they used to. You know, like Garry's Mod used to get a lot of viewers on Twitch. Doesn't really anymore, you know, so...
So, not thinking from a Twitch standpoint, one of the things that they added in... And I've never played Garry's Mod. I'm not too familiar. I know what it is, but I'm not too familiar with the stuff in there.
Yeah.
One of the things I think was Call of Duty World War II that they released was Prop Hunt, which is this, and that was 8-on-8. And they took it out, and I remember the entire subreddit for it went absolutely ballistic and was like, this was incredible. You need to put this back in. And they put it back in, and it's been in a couple of games since then. So it has an audience. It has something that people want to do and play.
Yeah.
So I mean, I even signed up for the Discord.
Oh, interesting.
There's
when I say I don't know how it's going to do. What I mean is a few years ago, games like this were being heavily watched on Twitch and YouTube. I remember a lot of it was on YouTube. I know the Yogscast used to play it a lot, right? And I feel like they were trying to capitalize on that kind of audience. And what I'm saying is I just don't know if that audience is still interested. You know, I don't know if it's going to get the same level of success as Garry's Mod did. And it doesn't have, I'm not saying it has to. I'm not saying like it could still do very well, but I just don't think it's going to be a huge smash success like Garry's Mod was. You know, like at one point I remember everybody was streaming or making YouTube content out of Garry's Mod. It was basically like a mini Minecraft. It was after Minecraft had a bit of a kind of died down a little bit. Garry's Mod picked up the pace and became like the next sort of big thing.
Exactly. You know, and that's fair because Garry's Mod had a lot more, I guess, customization to it. You could do a lot more.
So many different
this is one specific game mode.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm intrigued. I've already signed up for the alpha or pre-alpha or whatever it is.
Oh, I'll play
knowing that it's going to be garbage because it's an alpha version. Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued enough that I signed up for it already.
Fair enough. I mean, I should get into there. Are we allowed to stream the alpha? Probably not. But yeah, no, I don't know.
No. I did read through. They said no.
Yeah. It's understandable. I think it could be a fun game to play with friends, and depending on how much content there is in it, because at the moment it just looks like one game mode. I don't know how many maps. I want to see how much it costs. You know, if it's a cheaper game with less content, great. If they charge too much for it, though, I'm going to be a bit cautious on it because those kind of games don't usually last that long. You know, so I'm a little bit. We'll wait and see. Just want to very quickly acknowledge Adam Parker's comment. So Adam says, one thing I must say, apart from Fallout 76, no Battle Royales announced this year. Remember how many Battle Royales announced at the PC show E3 2018? Because people have realized now that market is settled. You know, it's dominated by Fortnite, closely followed by PUBG, and closely followed by Apex. And no one else can get a look in because why would they? You know, there's some that do all right, like I keep forgetting the name.
Is Call of Duty still doing okay?
No.
Black Ops
no.
4, really?
Again, going on Twitch viewership, which I know if JP's still here, Twitch viewership isn't 1-to-1, but there is definitely especially with Battle Royales, there is definitely, you know, the more people watching those kind of games, the more excitement there is, the more people are playing them. And you can't get a look in. Call of Duty flopped. The whole game flopped. I think a lot of these companies were making them to cash grab, and I think a lot of them realized that it wasn't going to work.
Oh, definitely.
It wasn't the cash grab they hoped it was going to be. And that's what happens when you
jumped in on a couple of those.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you make a game just purely for profit in a saturated market. You know, if you're the first person to come up with these games, like, let's be honest, Fortnite and PUBG were, well, what was the original one? H1Z1? No, what was it? The original, like, sort of, the one that sparked it off.
It might be. I don't remember. PUBG was the first one that I got in on.
PUBG was the first one I played. But like, yeah, anyway, the point is the people that did it first have their established audiences already, and unless you're going to do something better, then you ain't going to have a looking. And the thing is even Apex, which did very, very well, very quickly died down because people went back to their original ones. They went back to their Fortnite, they went back to their PUBG, and you know we've discussed this a million times before on YouTube and Twitch. The amount of people that jumped on Apex because they thought they were going to become a huge smash hit streamer from it, and then they very quickly realized that they weren't because everybody was streaming it, so they all went back to their whatever games they played before they played that. So it's just not worth it. It's such a financial risk, and when these companies are making games purely for profit but they're not putting in the time and the effort, they're just rushing them out just to get them out. It's like, oh, we need our Battle Royale. Then clearly they didn't work because of course they're not going to work.
Specifically, if you remember Radical Heights, that's exactly what that was. It was a Battle Royale. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good, well-made one, but it was so unpolished that they literally did not have modeled textures. Literally, everything was just white blocks. You would go into a building, and there's no textures to it.
The problem is, though, is even if your game is solid, you're still competing with titans. You're competing with established audiences who love their games, who spent money on skins, they spent countless hours getting good at it, they spent all the time watching it. They don't want a new Battle Royale. It's a silly business decision, and I'm glad that it's ended. Ahmed, how you doing? Welcome in. Hi, Pro. You see that? We're Pro. How you doing, Ahmed? PUBG Mobile was the original one. Don't even joke, Ahmed. But no, I didn't get angry about the Battle Royale fad like some people did. I was just like, it ain't gonna work, and it didn't. So, they moved on, I moved on. Mosaic. I remember which game it is now. I don't know if you saw it. It's the game that looks very much like Limbo inside, maybe Little Nightmares-ish. One of those kind of games. It's looks like a platformer, a narrative, creepy platformer though. And it's the game that they released a little idle game to support it, Blip Blop.
Yeah, Blip Blop.
Yeah, Blip Blop. So Mosaic looks really interesting. I love those kind of games. I loved Limbo, I loved Inside, and I love Little Nightmares. Little Nightmares was my favorite by far.
I don't remember this.
It was a very teaser trailer. There wasn't much shown. There was a very quick teaser. But it's very much my kind of game. I love these. I love them to stream them. I love to stream them for 4 hours and then I'm done and I move on. Like, I've streamed Little Nightmares twice and I'm probably going to stream it a third time because of how much I loved it. And this is what I was saying before about I'd rather have a shorter, really, really well-crafted, interesting game like one of these than a big, long, sprawling Assassin's Creed or Far Cry game, honestly. Can I ask you a question? Of course you can, Ahmed. That's the whole reason we're doing it live today. Ask away. But yeah, Little Nightmares was amazing. I do think this does look more like Limbo and Inside than Little Nightmares, though. It does look like one of those kind of games. Very atmospheric, very kind of spooky. Very much like a simple art style, but with like a message. It definitely has. It actually reminds me a little bit of that game that I played on stream that had full frontal male nudity and I didn't realize. That was a student project though. But it reminds me of that kind of game. And there's
So
already...
I'm not gonna lie. I thought Mosaic... I'm not going to lie. I thought Mosaic was Blip Blop.
No.
I didn't realize Mosaic was its own game.
The Blip Blop is it's basically just a tie-in to build hype. And if you did you play Blip Blop?
I didn't realize that. Oh, I've been playing a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, so you... did you not go on the website? Because if you click on the adverts in that game are not real adverts, they're adverts for the game. So if you click on the adverts in that game, it takes you to their website.
Okay.
But yeah, it's... I'm really looking forward to it. I love those kind of games. They are some of my favorite games to stream, some of my favorite games to play. I could literally... I want to play Little Nightmares again now, god damn it. But yeah, I'll be keeping a close eye on that one. And I will say that they put more world building and intrigue into a minute-long trailer than a lot of games do in half an hour. Like, I'm already like kind of sold on it. I'm probably just going to buy it on day one and play it. I've got a couple more games on my list. A couple of them that I actually can't remember. Last Oasis, I think, is the one where you have these big mech things. Yeah, that's the one where you have these like big sort of mech dune crawler things. It looks interesting. I feel like it's one of those games it reminds me a little bit of that steampunk game where you have airships in it a little bit. What game was that? I never played it, but it looked good. You have like airships and it's like a PvP game and you're on one airship and they're on another airship and you have to like repair it and like one of you gets on the cannon, one of you steers it. What the hell? Someone in the chat, come on, someone must know.
That sounds familiar, but I
never played it though.
Name.
I never played it, but that's what it reminds me of anyway. It reminds me of like a cooperative PvP game where you all have a dune crawler, and apparently there's like massive ones. You get like little ones that are like 1 man or 2 man, and then you got massive ones that have lots of people on them. It looks interesting. I kind of want to wait and see. They look like there was like ramming mechanics, and one of them had like turrets on it and stuff like that. It looks interesting. I've got another one, Remnant from the Ashes. What was that one? I'm trying to remember.
I remember these games, yeah.
Well, I started on day 2. I started writing them down because otherwise I forget. So I started writing down names of stuff that looked interesting. Oh yeah, Remnant from the Ashes was the one with the big monsters in it, and the protagonist, I guess, she had magic. She's like set them on fire. But it looks interesting. I don't really know what it's about. It's got monsters in it, and it's got like almost looks like post-apocalyptic in a kind of way. I'll wait and see, but it looks all right. It looks okay. Grifflands. This is something that I said I was interested in, and Taylor was like, "That looks shit," and I'm like, I don't know. But it's I think it's like a deck builder. Yeah, it's a deck building roguelike. So it reminded me a lot of Slay the Spire, and Slay the Spire was awesome. It reminds me of Slay the Spire, but with the combat looks more like Final Fantasy, so you have more than one person on your team. Whereas in Slay the Spire, you only had one. In this, it looks like you have a squad, but it's still cards.
What's the name of this one?
Griftlands, Grift lands. But I'm intrigued because it's made by Clay as well. Clay made Don't Starve. and other games. So I'm very interested. I'm very, very interested to see. It's coming out June next year, so a whole year off yet. But it does give me Slay the Spire vibes with...
I like it. Like it.
Yeah, I'm very, very
I
interested.
missed this.
Again, it was like a minute trailer, that was it. There was a lot of stuff that was just in and out. You didn't get to see much. A lot of teasers, a lot of again, it's coming next year, so you're not going to see a lot of it. But yeah, I'm interested in that one. I really enjoyed Slay the Spire. I played it to death. I don't know how many hours I've got in that game, but I played it a lot. So it's one that I'm going to look at, and it's made by Clay, and I like Clay games. So I don't know, Ahmed, I don't know if your question came up, but I can't see it. I don't know if you still have that question, Ahmed. But yeah, I think that's pretty much... What else have I got written down? Oh, we haven't done Ubisoft yet. We haven't done Ubisoft. Let's do Ubisoft.
So I know I said...
You're cutting out again, dude.
Why?
I don't know. I can't hear
I'm
you.
close.
I can't
At
hear
all?
that voice.
Better?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay. I don't know why. There's one that we missed in the Microsoft panel that I want to go back to.
Sure. Go ahead.
Phantasy Star Online 2.
Okay, we'll put that... Is it PH, isn't it?
Yes, Fantasy PH. So, I don't know about you, and I wish Elliott was here because I know that he was excited for it as well.
He was, yeah.
On the original Xbox, we had Phantasy Star Online. And it was a live service game. You did have to pay a subscription just for that, so you had to pay for Xbox Live.
Was it a live service or was it an MMO? Because I
Yes.
count them as different. So, yes. Which
I'm going to say yes.
I count them as different. I count MMOs as different to live services, honestly. Even though technically it is a live service, I still can... I don't know. There's a distinction for me.
If I remember right, you had a hub which was instanced, and you would only be in there with like maybe people. But then you would join a mission, and you'd be in there with 3 other people. So 4 people doing a mission. It would be very on the rails, and it would be like a quick, maybe same thing as I was saying before, 10-minute mission. They would go through, kill a couple monsters, kill the big bad, loot, go back to hub, rinse, repeat.
Okay, so it is more of a live service than an MMO. Okay, cool.
And I remember playing a lot of it when it was out. I apologize. You're probably going to start hearing a siren now because I live next to a firehouse.
It's so good. So good. Don't give away your location.
Good.
Now we have 1 in a million chance of knowing where you are.
I was going to say.
No, it's fine.
You had to pay for the Hunter license, which was its own pass to play the game. So that was like $12 a month plus your Xbox Live subscription cost, which was however month.
Which is a bit shitty.
Yeah, I don't know. And I guess because it was a Sega game, so Sega was hosting the content, and they were saying, well, we need our money so that we can keep servers up and everything.
Yeah.
And what's funny is going back to maybe I want to say 3 or 4 months ago, I was thinking about Phantasy Star, and I was like, I wonder if they ever released a new version of it. And I saw that there was a release of version, but it was already down. It was already back offline. And then there was a version that was in Japanese that I said, well, I don't know how to read or speak Japanese, so this is going to do nothing for me. Yeah. I'm not going to get anything out of it. I don't understand what the hell's going on. So them showing off Phantasy Star Online for me it was a big nostalgia trip. I really enjoyed the combat. It was simple, but it was fun combat.
Yeah.
Again, going back to a point from earlier, I enjoy looters, and it's a looter game. You pick up parts, and like maybe you equip gloves, and maybe these gloves give this stat. I don't remember specifics. Again, I'm talking about original Xbox, so a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I am super excited. That is one of the reasons why, if it doesn't come to computer, I will be plugging my Xbox back in so I can get some time back in on that.
So Adam in the chat is saying that what they didn't say at E3 is it's coming on PC as well. So number 2 is coming to PC, so you're in.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I am way good.
I never played the first one. I mean, I would give it a go, but I need to see gameplay of it first. I don't really know in my head how it plays, Like, I mean, I've played MMOs in the past, and there are some live service games that I don't hate, but I'd have to see.
I'll see what I can find and send it to you separately for offline.
Yeah, sure. I just, like, for the purposes of E3, just didn't get excited about it because
and that's fine. Exactly. Having never played it, reason excited, having played it a long time ago, like I said, I saw it without even seeing the gameplay. I remember having so much fun with it, and I was immediately like, yeah, let's go, let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're excited. I know Elliott is as well. So if you guys are both getting excited, maybe I should have a look at the original or look at this one and see what the gameplay is like. Welcome back. No worries, Ahmed. I didn't get your question. Your question didn't come through, so I don't know if you want to re-ask it, but welcome back. But yeah, I wish I had more to say about it. I, again, never played Phantasy Star Online. I tend to avoid a lot of online games. Now, when I say online, I mean like MMOs. So, and a lot of the live service crap. So I kind of like avoid a lot of those kind of games, but it really depends for me. It depends what the core gameplay loop and the mechanics are. So Ahmed asks, my question is, what do you think about the developers of this year's games? I think they focus on multiplayer gaming and not the story. I mean, that's been a thing for years though, Ahmed. Like there's a lot of emphasis on the multiplayer because, as we've said on the podcast before, multiplayer makes more money than single player. Like, let's be honest, it does. For a single player game to be a smash hit success, they've got to sell a heck of a lot of copies. For a multiplayer game to be a smash hit success, they've got to sell a good amount of copies and then lots of microtransactions. And so, you know, as much as I hate it, as much as somebody who loves a single player narrative experience, it's just sort of the reality. But I do think I will disagree on a little bit, because I do think that in the last sort of year, maybe year and a half, we've seen like the swing back now. We're seeing a lot of games that we were told for years, nope, they don't do well. You know, horror doesn't do well. And then we got Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 2. You know, single player narrative games don't do well. We got The Witcher. I know that was a few years ago now, but I do think the industry is flipping back, because I think a lot of the industry is realizing they just can't compete with Fortnite and PUBG and Apex and all these other games. So they've given up, and I think they've gone back to making the more single player games. And so I think you're right, but I think we are coming to the turning point. And I hope, because here's the thing, there's a place for both. There's a place for both multiplayer and single player. The problem is the industry only wants to do what makes the most money. They don't want to make some money. They don't want to make a lot of money. They want to make the most money. And we know that Fortnite makes the most money. So every game for the last year or so has been trying to emulate Fortnite. We were talking about this earlier. And a lot of them are realizing they can't emulate Fortnite. Do you know why they can't emulate Fortnite? Because, I mean, this might be a radical revelation for some of you, but Fortnite players, they love Fortnite. And to get them to come and play your game when they love Fortnite is very difficult. So I think you were right. If you just asked me this a year ago, I'd have been like, yeah. But I think now we're seeing that flip around, and I'm glad. It's about goddamn time. But yeah, do you want to say anything more about Phantasy Star Online, apart from that you love it, it looks great, and you're happy?
No, I'm sold.
You're sold? Again, I will check it out. I just never played the first one, so I can't get excited about it. But we'll see.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's a long time ago. I looked at a little bit of the gameplay again. I sent you the link. I don't know if you saw it yet. Obviously, for later,
I
it's
can't,
like 7
because
hours.
I've got a whole screen of us.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah,
It's
I'll
like
check it
7
out
hours.
after.
I clicked around. From what I'm seeing there, it's a very Monster Hunter-ish.
Okay.
And again, I don't really remember too much, but the difference is it's RPG-like, so you do level up, you do get new things.
Okay.
And again, I'm souped. I can't wait for that. I will be getting that, period. I don't know of a way that they could say, hey, Guzzy, this game is not for you, because from everything that I remember about the game, I will be playing that day one.
Cool. Again, I'll check it out after we finish the stream. I'll check it out and have a look. But yeah, Ubisoft.
So before Ubisoft, I'm kidding.
Are you sure? I don't mind. I got nowhere to be.
No, I'm kidding.
Ubisoft was a weird one this year, because it had some good stuff. I've always been like how do I put this? I've always been like a bit of a meh with Ubisoft. Like, I don't think they're the worst company, and I don't think they're the best. They make some good games, but a lot of their games are let down by, you know, trying to be too big, trying to be the biggest game ever, trying to be too open world, or occasionally being let down by monetization. But I don't think they make bad games. They always look great. They always usually handle very well. And for the most part, Ubisoft games are quality games for the most part. However, a lot of them are just boring. And that's something that's like, that's a cardinal sin for me. You know, games like, for example, the Division Wildlands, right? The Division Wildlands, Ghost Recon Wildlands, a game that looks great. It was very polished, but just looked boring. You know, it just looked boring. So we had more of the same this year. We had more of the same. We had a couple of announcements for older games that I'm just like, right? Like we had announcements for the Division 2. I mean, is anyone still playing the Division 2? Are you playing Division 2 still?
I haven't. And part of that was there's a lot to it that's broken, and I don't mean broken in a technical sense. I mean broken from a design standpoint.
Yeah.
Like for instance, and I don't remember how much, if any, you played at Division 1.
I played
Part of what was great about
a bit.
Okay, so part of what was great about Division 1 was that you could completely vary your play style. I could play as a healer type, my buddy plays a tank type, and our buddy plays a DPS type.
Yeah.
And that's both from a theoretical standpoint as well as in real life practice. That's the way we played. We played Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
And that's because you were allowed to have different skill builds. And on top of that, your skills actually, if you got something like skill power increase or whatever it was called on your gear, it would actually increase what that skill did. So if I was a healer type, my skill power would increase my healing. And it makes sense. You would think that's the way it would work. Division 2, no, they basically turned around and said, what? People like skills? We just included that because we had it. We didn't think people wanted to use them.
Yeah.
Disappointing. And it's so much less varied now. Now it's everybody's running, shooting, playing with the same skills because these are best ones to play with. And it's still a lot of fun. The action is still great. I still love it. I love cover. I love tactical. I love running from spot to spot, taking people out. I don't love that me and JP and whoever we play with are all playing the same build.
Yeah.
I don't love it's got its problems. I trust the developers still. They made Division 1 a very good game after a very rough launch.
Yeah.
I trust that they're in. If you keep up with the state of the game, and I know that you don't because you're not interested in it, but if you keep up with it, the developers do a weekly update where we say, okay, this is where we're faltering, this is what we're going to focus on. And they've seen a lot of points where people have said, we don't like this, why are you doing this? And they've said, okay, you don't want it, then we won't do it, we'll change it to this instead. How does that work? Fans say, we love it, developers say, cool, we're good, let's go.
Yeah.
So I have hope for it. But for right now, I'm on pause.
The only reason I didn't like The Division is because I was running around and there was this basically like a post-apocalyptic city, right? Because that's what it felt like. And then you were just fighting a dude, just a dude.
Here it is.
He had his baseball cap on, he was running at you, and then you were shooting him 5 times in the face and he didn't die. And I'm just like, it wasn't fun for me. I'm like, I want to get you play PUBG, right? And you snipe someone in the head and they die, it's satisfying. It satisfies me when they go down, right? You play Halo, which is a game with a really high time to kill, but that's because they have power armor and shielding, and it makes sense. And you can still, in Halo, you could get behind somebody and you could assassinate them one hit. So, but in The Division, it just felt so unsatisfying, the combat. It was like they were bullet sponges,
Little known fact with Division, and people don't really get this from the backstory. If the virus didn't get you sick and killed you, it was basically like a 50-50, like Reddit's 50-50, where basically either you're going to die or become superpowered and just become a fucking bullet sponge. I'm obviously pulling that out of my ass.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's bullshit. And even if they did do that, I'd be like, no, that's a bullshit excuse you made up for the fucking game, you dosses. But no, it was literally like that. If the game was way, way more fun, that wouldn't have been enough to kill it for me. But it was just I just ran around and was like, what's the point? Like when the game came out at launch, I was like, what's the point? The Dark Zone was what really interested me, because that was like a whole oh, this is the PvP zone. And there was supposed to be this risk reward. There was supposed to be this element of if you go in there, you're going into the place where you're probably going to die. And it was this whole if you come out of it, you're great. That's how it was supposed to be in the Division 1. And on launch, that's not how it was. How it was a clusterfuck. It was just such a clusterfuck. It was just like, there were certain classes that were way more powerful than others in the first one, and it was very much like oh well, one guy's running around just rolling around spamming roll because you can't hit him, and then he's just healing and then he's spamming roll, and it just wasn't epic like it was supposed to be. And so I just felt like it wasn't a terrible game, but it just disappointed me. So when the second one came out, I was just like, nah, it's just more of the same. And I feel like a lot of people were stuck in that game limbo where they really wanted a good game to sink their teeth into. And I think a lot of people bought Division 2 and immediately were just like, yeah, no, this ain't it. This ain't it, Chief. And so I'm not going to get excited for more content for a game I didn't have any interest in the first place. I mean, I will agree with you to a point. Like, Ubisoft are kind of getting a reputation recently for being those people that bring a game out and it ain't great, but then they do commit to it and fix it, which I will say, all right, look, okay, let me be honest. I will say, it should have been better at launch. Any game like Siege, Rainbow Six Siege should have been better at launch. The Division 1 should have been better at launch. But I will respect that they will stick with that game and fix it. Because, I mean, I don't think everyone said that they fixed the Division 1 before the Division 2 came out, but it was a heck of a lot better. So I respect that.
I would say conversely, and I see what you're saying 100%. It's that they have a vision in mind for the game, and they released that without going back to the community and saying, hey, what do you want for Division 2? They said, okay, here's Division 2. And again, we're talking about live service games where we as the community come back and say, it's not what we were really hoping for. And then they say, okay, well, then how about we change this? And unfortunately, from Ubisoft's standpoint, again, yeah, exactly, they're willing to fix it, and that's awesome, where some people, Bungie, don't really want to. It's like, but again, exactly, they have a vision in mind. They proceed with that vision. If they kind of consulted with their player base, they would have a better idea, and they wouldn't have to spend all that extra manpower to fix it, post-launch. But unfortunately, that's where we are now.
Yeah, no, I agree. So like I say, I have the respect that they are willing to get their games in a good state, but I also think they should have been, a lot of them should be better at launch. But that's the Division. Same thing for For Honor, another game that should have been a lot better at launch. It was massively, in my opinion, massively mismarketed. They made it look like a Dynasty Warriors game, and it wasn't a Dynasty Warriors game. And by the time people bought it and found out that it wasn't a Dynasty Warriors game, a lot of people were very angry, myself included. Even though I actually enjoyed For Honor, for the little I played of it, I actually did enjoy it. I don't care about more content for a game that old. Breakpoint. What about Breakpoint? Are you a Ghost Recon fan? Do you like Ghost Recon in general?
Oh, meh. I got Wildlands. I put like maybe 6 hours into it, not a lot.
So yeah, not a lot for a game.
And like you said, it's a fine game. It's nothing spectacular, but again, that's just a me problem. I'm not saying that the game is bad.
Yeah, but a lot of people felt that way though.
Me.
Is it a you problem?
Okay.
Because a lot of people were not happy with Wildlands.
Did not know that.
It was kind of panned, to be honest. This is the problem with, and I've said this while I was watching the E3 live, is that like I think a lot of people are just done with dude bro gun games. Like, not trying to be political here, but like, we've played them to death. We've played to death the I'm the only man who can get this job done. Send me in. I've played it, and
is that your John Bernthal impression?
No, you want me to do a John Bernthal impression? I'll do it. I'll
do
a John Bernthal impression.
It was pretty good.
I'll do a John Bernthal. You ready? I'm an American and I can shoot people. That's a John Bernthal impression. But yeah, literally. So like, it's. We've played so many of these games that are just generic shooters that if you're going to be a generic shooter, you need to do something spectacularly. Because if you don't, I'm like, well, I mean, okay, let's just take Wildlands as a really good example. For the people that played Wildlands and were not impressed, do you think they're going to run out and buy Breakpoint? I don't think they are. Like, I don't think they're going to run out and buy Breakpoint because they're like, well, I was bored of the last one, so why am I going to buy another one? Now, I think maybe John Bernthal being in it might be a selling point to some people, because, he's a very good actor. I loved him in The Punisher. I liked him in The Walking Dead. So maybe, but like, literal Widowmaker. Did you kill it with the Nerf gun? No. But yeah, so I'm interested in this one. And I was talking to Ruby about this one actually, because I'm interested in this one. But at the same time, I'm a bit like, I mean, what they're going to do. I know they've said that in this one, you're going to be hunted this time. So whereas in Wildlands, you are hunting people, in this one, you're the hunted. And I think that they could do something very interesting with that. And I know some people who were playing it, I think it was IGN or GameSpot. I think GameSpot people got to play it. And they were saying that essentially if you run in and go crazy and just start gunning people down, you're probably going to lose because you don't have enough ammunition and you're always outgunned. And so there's going to be like a little bit, not forced stealth, but highly encouraged stealth mechanics, which in a multiplayer co-op game is going to be interesting to say the least. You're the one who's hunted. Looks good though. Yeah. We're talking about Ghost Recon. We're talking about Breakpoint. So yeah, we were saying that it could be good, but the same thing was said about Wildlands, where it looked really good and then it came out and it was just like meh. So I've never heard a single person who bought Wildlands and played it go, I love that game. I've never heard anybody say that.
I know what's going to happen with me, and again, this is a me thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see some Breakpoint footage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, wow, this looks fucking awesome. I'm going to wait till it goes on sale. I'm not going to spend that $60 price point because I know that it's not a $60 game for me.
Yeah.
It'll go on sale to about $35, about 6-7 months after launch. I'll pick it up. I'll put 2 hours in and say, well, that was underwhelming. And then I'll never play it again.
So Ruby Doobie says, I like that. It's got no queen on it here. I enjoyed Wildlands. Yeah, but did you love it? That's what I'm saying. I've never heard anybody say I loved it, or it was amazing, or it was great, or it's fantastic. I've heard people say, it was okay. I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad. And when you're paying $60 for a game, you can't have it was okay. Like, if you're paying $20, $30 for an indie game, sure. When you're paying $60 for a game on launch and your buddy's buying it as well, okay is not good enough. I'm sorry, but it's not. When you can buy so many games out there for $60 that are amazing, like, you can't have an okay $60 game. You don't get too excited about video games anymore because things have looked awesome but real let down. So honestly, this is like, I've said this a million times. Like, I have felt this way since Alien Colonial Marines. When was that released? Like, when the hell was that released? It was a long time ago now. And I feel like a lot more people are doing this every year. Like, there's one game for everybody that makes them that way. There's one game that gets overly marketed, it gets overly hyped up, it gets, everyone's like, it's going to be the best game ever. They buy it, they're disappointed, and they feel like their money has been wasted. And I feel like everybody has this at the moment. Like, and I hate it. Like, I thought I'm just the grumpy one, but I every day I hear someone else going, I'm just bored of video games now, or I'm getting sick of them, or they're not living up to expectations anymore. And that's not where we should be, And this is honestly one of the reasons why I got into making content in the first place, because I know that if I can get conned, and I'm a pretty intelligent person, if I can get conned, I know there are many people out there that are getting conned. And so this is one of the reasons why I started doing, critical gameplay. Is because if I show you a game, you can then make your own mind up whether you want to buy it or not. And I know that if I'm thinking about buying a game, the first thing I will do is I will go to a YouTuber who I trust or a streamer that I trust, and I will check out their gameplay. If they're live, I will ask them questions about it, and I know that I'm getting an honest opinion, because you can't trust marketing anymore. You can't trust E3. You can't trust trailers. You can't trust anything anymore. The only thing you can trust is actually seeing the game yourself. And I think this is why a lot of publishers are really like getting, I won't say they're getting scared of YouTube and Twitch, but they're realizing that they can't bullshit as much like they used to. It's better with a full squad. I loved it when I had 3 other people because it was hilarious, but usually wait till I've seen gameplay. The thing with that though is, you can say that about any game. Like, pretty much any game, if you put 4 people in it, can be fun. Like, the shittest game ever. Like, if I could play Alien Colonial Marines with 4 people, it probably would have been a lot more fun than it was co-op with 2. I mean, it was still a shit game, but like with 4 people, anything can be fun. Like, I just feel like that's not an acceptable excuse for a game, Like, I just feel like, and again, there are people out there that enjoyed Wildlands. I'm not saying that Wildlands necessarily is a bad game. What I'm saying is it's a very meh game. It's very okay. It's an okay game from what it looks like. And a lot of people who buy a game because remember, not everyone can afford to buy a game every day, right? Some people, when they buy a video game for $60, that's a big purchase for me. And when I was at uni, when I bought Alien Colonial Marines, that was a big purchase for me. That was like a big deal. I was like, 60 quid, well, 50 quid when you're at uni. Like, you don't have 50 quid. Like, you go on nights out and spend a tenner because that's all you have, So, like, 50 quid for me was a huge deal. And I felt so conned.
In freedom currency, that's, you're
so
saying
£50
like
is around
$50.
$60, yeah.
Okay, so quid and pound is the same thing? Just so
pounds and quid are the same. Yeah, quid's just slang term for pounds. But yeah, so, so it's like, yeah, it was a big deal purchase for me. And I think that's why Alien got me so badly, because if I had tons of money and I bought Alien, it was shit, I'd be like, oh, whatever, but when I was at uni and I didn't have that money and I spent it, I went out and I spent that money that I really didn't have on a game that I was hoping to love, and it just disappointed me so badly. I've always been critical since then, You have proof that isn't always true. Borderlands 2? B2? Borderlands 2? Wait, B2 what? What are you talking about? But yeah, so that was pretty much all what's about Ghost Recon. It's got John Bernthal in it. It's good. Okay. I see what you're. Okay, I see what you're talking about, Ruby. But yeah, so I will see some gameplay. I might play it. I'll probably wait for a sale unless Ruby wants me to play it with her or Taylor or Elliott want to play it. I'll probably just wait for a sale. What about what's the other one? What was the other one that I wanted to talk about? Yeah, Watch Dogs Legion. There we go.
That's the big one.
Dogs Legion. That was their main title.
Hold on. Did you just so funny?
Are you cutting out again, dude?
Oh.
We need to talk about a noise gate. We were going to have this conversation.
How about if I sit here and do an ASMR stream?
Now your mic is popping, but still, we were going to talk about a noise gate for you, weren't we? I've got a better one than the one you're probably using, but remind me.
Sorry, I wanted to do ASMR.
I should have put, if I'd have known, I'd have put an ASMR tag on this video and got 1,000 views. Like, what? What the hell, Gus? Should have told me.
Sorry. Okay, so funny story. I'm talking about the game to a buddy yesterday at the office, and let's just say, and I reminded of this because the way it sounded when you said it. Let's just say that I'm very glad that Google knows what I'm looking for and not what I put in, because instead of typing Watch Dogs, I could already see that smirk on your face. You know where this is going. I typed Watch Dongs.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So Google saved your ass. Google was like, I think you meant Watch Dogs.
Yep.
Yeah,
that would have been a very different search result.
I could just imagine
for the office environment.
I could just imagine at the office as well. Like,
you know what? I'm not going to do it. I was going to see what it. Nope.
not on this stream. Thanks. This is YouTube.
No jokes in general. Nope.
Nope.
I don't want that in my Google search history.
Nope. But yeah, so I was one of those people that got really interested by Watch Dogs 1 when that was announced at E3 way back when. And it looked really cool and it looked really great. And we all know now that it was massively over-marketed, as a lot of Ubisoft products are. I say Ubisoft, that's unfair. A lot of E3 products are, not just Ubisoft. But I was very much like, this looks really great. And then it came out and I saw gameplay and I was just like, oh. Like, I remember watching Total Biscuit's video. I'm sure it was Total Biscuit. It was either TB or Jim Sterling or Angry Joe. It was one of those three. I remember watching somebody's video on Watch Dogs at E3 and they compared it to what we actually got and it was radically different. It looked way worse.
It was different.
The gameplay was...
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, a lot of people did enjoy Watch Dogs, but again, Watch Dogs was one of those games that was promising to be the world, and it turned out it wasn't the world. It was good, but it wasn't amazing. And so I kind of just skipped it. I didn't bother with Watch Dogs 2. But Watch Dogs 3, and again, I'm knowing that that's what happened with Watch Dogs 1, I'm kind of like, I really want to get excited for Watch Dogs 3 because it just looks fucking crazy. But I'm also like, I don't know if I dare. I think I'm going to wait again. I'm going to be sensible and wait till I see it on Twitch or YouTube, because there's a lot in there that I'm really interested in. Like the whole, and this is what a lot of people are getting really like excited about. Like the whole like being able to recruit anybody. And the way that they say this is that any NPC in that game is recruitable. And there's all sorts of different like archetypes. You see like a lot like chavvy people. You see grandmas. There's like, you can make an army of grandma hackers if you want to, which is what I'll do if I play the game. But at the same time, I just know it's Ubisoft and I know it's going to have lots of filler crap and it's going to have lots of, oh, go over to this location in the map and pick up this item and there you go, that's 1%.
No, to be fair, is that not...
You're cutting out. You cut out again, what'd you say?
I'm right in front of the thing. How am I cutting?
I don't know. Your mic's on the way out.
It's a brand new mic, Jesus.
What mic did you get?
It's a Razer Siren.
Oh, that explains it, dude. Razer.
I've had no problems with it. Anyways, is that not every open world game though at this point? Every open world game is...
Ubisoft is the king of the open world games. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
Assassin's Creed and Far Cry.
Kill this. It's every game.
I'm sick to death of that shit. Like even Horizon Zero Dawn, which I enjoyed, I still was like, ugh, open world. Like, it depends for me. If the open world is done well, like The Witcher, and what was the other one? There's been a couple of open world games recently that have not been too bad, but if the open world is done well, then sure, but I just can't be arsed with the whole collectathon, go over here and press button and come back and press another one, radio towers and all that shit. So we'll see. I do feel like the whole, you know, recruiting anybody and apparently the way that it works is different people have different like opinions on DedSec, and so if they're a big fan of DedSec, they'll be really easy to recruit, and if they hate DedSec, they'll be really hard to recruit. And there is an element of that your characters can die, although apparently, according to, again, I think GameSpot, apparently it's like really difficult for somebody to die. It's almost like you have to allow it to happen. So I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of, obviously this one's set in London, so there's a lot of British references. I think a lot of them come from TV shows and films and stuff like that, which is, I don't mind. There's a film, Ruby, you might know. There's a film that I swear they're basing the whole grandma hackers off. Like I swear there's a film about like grandma gangsters or something set in London. And I'm sure like I'm getting vibes of those kind of movies, you know, like low budget, like British movies, which I'm okay with. You know, I kind of do want to go in the game and see how right they get it. I'm not an expert on London. I've not been for a while, but you know, I kind of want to see like how many of the British references are actually true.
Now, in fairness to the team that did development, and I'm not sure who it was, when they did the first Watch Dogs, it took place in Chicago. And from what I understand, they went and they mapped Chicago. So you are playing in Chicago. Not that
it's
you're
like a
playing in
mini
a city that's
version
mapped after it. So I'm hoping for the same thing, especially as a uncultured American who's not been across the lake.
which is a travesty, by the way.
I know, tell me about it. But I'm interested to play that kind of game world and see what it's all about and get a little bit both of the British humor, which I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
I love the dry humor. Like I believe you and I have spoken about Simon Pegg.
That was it, Gangster Granny. That was it. I was about to say it's like gangsters, grandmas with machine guns or something, but that was Gangster Granny. Thank you.
Like Simon Pegg, I think he's hilarious. I love that dry British humor style.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to get to experience that, even if it's a virtual setting, to get to experience that.
Yeah, it just depends like how much they, in the nicest way possible, it depends how much they researched online and how much they actually researched. Because like a good example is we see there's a typical chav in there, which if you don't know what a chav is like a British term for a very poor person who spends money they don't have on like trainers and jewelry and probably lives on a council estate and swears at you if you walk past them and look at them funny. Those kind of people. Not exactly the most savory of types. And so you see a chav in the lineup of people that you can recruit, and they look like a stereotypical chav. Like they look like the chav that you see on TV. They don't really necessarily look like an actual chav. So I kind of see like there's some maybe like soft research been done. I don't know. Did they go to London to research? I don't know. We'll see. But at the same time, I am interested in a Watch Dogs game, that's an achievement considering that I had no interest in Watch Dogs 2. I couldn't be arsed. I didn't give a shit about it. So that is an achievement. They've got my attention back. But again, I'm too cautious with Ubisoft games. Like I enjoyed Far Cry 5. I didn't bother with New Dawn. I haven't bothered with Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I enjoyed Origins a bit, but didn't really bother completing it. Again, didn't bother with Division 2. I don't think I'll be bothering with Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I feel like Ubisoft are... When I was talking earlier about a lot of people are just fatigued on the dude bro games, I feel like Ubisoft are king of the dude bro games. They're king of the dude bro and king of the open world. And honestly, king of the open world dude bro games. They combine the two genres. And I just feel like, for me personally, I'm kind of just done with them. So we'll see. We'll see. I do think that some of the humor that they've put into the trailer, if that equates across to the game, then sure, I'll probably play it at some point. You know, I like that kind of humor. I like that kind of taking it less seriously, you know, like I say, the whole dude bro thing, like everyone's gonna be so serious and we're at war now, but like you can have hacker grannies, so I don't think it's gonna be that serious. So I'm interested. I'm
definitely intrigued.
Yeah, same. Interested, but cautious, I think it's fair to say. I think that's pretty much anything else you want. Ubisoft, I think we've pretty much covered everything now. We've covered all the major stuff, all the stuff I'm interested in. Was there anything else that you missed before we start to wrap up? You got anything else?
Not from Ubi. I just want to go back to Bethesda for a second and say, sure. Bethesda, fix fucking Rage 2 for the love of everything. Please fucking fix the game.
You've got a game-breaking bug on yours, haven't you? I think you did a YouTube video about it, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. I still cannot. I read through some of the Steam forums, and people said, "Yeah, I reloaded a prior save for 4 hours and finally fixed itself." I'm not going to spend 4 hours for a bug that isn't up to me to fix.
Yeah.
Um, Fix the fucking bug. The game is out a month yesterday, and the game still the bug still exists.
Sorry, I got a message held for review, and it's literally Blizzard sort out Overwatch. Like, why is that being held for review? Like, no, show that stuff. That's true. Blizzard sort out Overwatch.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I personally haven't encountered that game-breaking bug, but I think you might be further ahead than me. And
Potentially.
I mean, Rage, was it even shown at E3? I don't think they really showed much about it, if anything, but I
They
enjoyed it.
they showed that there's a patch coming. That's
Yeah.
it. New
A lot
content.
of that this year. A lot of, hey, we're patching a game we've already brought out. And I'm just like,
Brought out or broken?
sorry, say again.
Brought out or broken?
Well, yeah. But yeah, no, I feel like I kind of wish that E3, I mean, if you're somebody who's playing that game that they're bringing out new patches for, sure, I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. But I kind of wish like E3 would focus a little bit more on the new games coming out and have like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really want to know more about a game that's already exists, honestly, unless it's something really exciting. I really don't care. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this year, like, what's your overall opinion of this year's E3? Did you enjoy it? Do you think it was shit? Like, what was your like overall?
So going into it, I think I said, I think it was a reply to one of your tweets. Geez, words escape me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's hard. It's hard.
Words are difficult. I had said that I was going into this one very cynical, and that it actually disappointed me that I was going in cynical because the game industry is in a bad place.
Yeah.
I'm coming out a little bit better than I went in, but not by a whole lot.
Same.
Because I am excited about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm more excited now for indie gaming than I ever have been, because I've never been an indie guy. I've always just cared about AAA titles.
Yeah.
But looking at Devolver with Fall Guys and looking at Midnight Ghost Hunt and a couple of the other ones that are in there, I'm excited for those.
Yeah.
As a whole, I'm not like, oh wow, there's so many games, I can't wait to pick them all up. You know, for the next several months, I think are going to be very boring from a game standpoint. I'll be playing a lot of old stuff because there's nothing coming out that it's like, I need to play this. But next year looks hopeful. It looks hopeful.
So I'm kind of the same. I've always been, well, ever since sort of the Alien Colonial Marines debacle, I've always been a little bit critical, but I get more and more critical and more cynical each year. And I feel like this last year, which is ironic because this last year has been the year that I've been doing content creation full time. I've been working in the industry essentially for the first time ever. And that's been super exciting, super great. Thank you for hanging out, Ruby. I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic evening. And yet at the same time, and this is not just me, I know Ruby said this before and other people have said this before as well, is that I think a lot of people are just really not excited for games like they used to be. A lot of people are getting fatigued by them. They're getting so sick of the bullshit, so sick of every game having to be, you know, a live service online looter shooter, essentially. Like all of so many different problems with the gaming industry right now that it's been in a bad place. And I kind of made a joke not long ago, but I kind of think it's true. I think we're going to look back at this last sort of 2 years as kind of like the dark ages of gaming. Like, or one of the dark ages of gaming, you know, it's not, it's like, yeah, it's like we've had other bad patches in gaming, you know, with like the ET game on Atari and stuff like that. But I think people will look back at this couple of years and go like, yeah, that was a bad patch. And so I went into E3 this year expecting to be like, I'm going to shit all over this. I'm going to be like, I'm going to be here. Because last year I remember being very, not disappointed, but very like, I saw through the bullshit. I saw the bullshit last year at E3 and was like, this is bullshit, this is bullshit, this is bullshit. Like I saw Fallout 76 is bullshit. I saw other bullshits. I saw BFA. I mean, I don't think that wasn't at E3, but still, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, I was very much expecting to go in this year and being militant. I was going to be like, yeah, what bullshit are you going to peddle this year? And for the most part, there wasn't that much. Like, I wouldn't say it was amazingly spectacular. It wasn't super hype and exciting, but there wasn't that much bullshit. There was a few little bits here and there, like with Todd Howard coming out. I mean, he did acknowledge the mistakes, but still he was in damage control mode, which was just to be expected. But there was nothing that made me go, this is bullshit. And last year there were things that made me go, this is bullshit. So I really hope, and I know what I've said before, but don't hope for anything in this fucking industry anymore, because if you do, you'll be disappointed. But I just hope that this is that turning point now. We've gone past the bad bit and we can go back into just making some good games, and we can go, right, well, that was a bad couple of years, but let's get back to making amazing games again. And we'll see. We'll see. A lot of people keep accusing me and others of being like, oh, well, you're just bored because you played too many games. And I'm like, it's not that. Because there are still games that impress me. Resident Evil 2 impressed me. You know, Kingdom Hearts 3 to a degree impressed me. Like, there are games that are impressing me still. So it can't be that. It can't be that I've just played too many games. It is that the industry on a whole is in a really bad place. And, you know, we've always said E3 exemplifies everything that's wrong with the industry. It exemplifies the corporate greed, it exemplifies the hype, the pre-order culture, all of these really bad things. And I think so if E3 isn't massively offending me, like, that's a good sign, you know? Like, that's either they've just really learned that people don't put up their bullshit anymore, or they actually are trying to improve as an industry. And I really hope it's the latter. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're massively over. It's 3.5 hours. We usually go for 1 hour and 45, and we've been going for 3.5 hours talking about E3. But that's fine because it's only once a year, and hopefully this time next year we'll be going, hey, do you remember when we were talking about how we hope it was the turning point? Well, what a fantastic E3 that was. I would love to say that next year. I would love to say what an amazing E3. I would love to be excited again, but we'll see. But we are going to go. Do you have any final things to say, Gus, before we say farewell to the YouTube?
Vote for Pedro.
Sure, vote for Pedro. If you have enjoyed Gus, where can people find you, Gus? Where are you available? I know you don't stream very regularly, but where you do.
So you have, I'm not good with this. Is it down here?
It is right there. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So you can find me right there on Twitch, Guzzy, Guzee, at Guzzy Bear on the Twitter sphere. And otherwise, good luck because you're not finding me.
I think you've just started a YouTube channel. Are you planning on doing any more YouTube content, or is it just...
So I'm not going to promote that because it's going to be hit or miss. It's going to be very, very intermittent. You know, but if I post a video, it will be posted on my Twitter to go check that out. So,
So follow you on Twitter is what the takeaway.
basically follow me on Twitter. That's where I'll post when I go live on Twitch, because otherwise I don't have an actual honored out schedule because life.
Yeah.
So you want to find me? Twitch is the best spot. I'm sorry, Twitter is the best spot. Twitch also works. And again,
Perfect.
That's at Guzzy Bear.
Something that I've not been promoting yet, but if people, YouTubers, if you are a YouTube fan, if you like these podcasts, I actually do have a Discord. I have a Discord. I will leave a link in the comments. I'll do a comment down below, where a lot of people we've had on the podcast are already in there because I've known them on Twitch and I've known them longer. So a lot of them are already in there. So if you do want to join my Discord and then you're like, hey, who was that guy you were with? The guy with the glasses, he was pretty cool. Where can I find him? I'll be like, yeah, I know where he is. So if you want to join in there, that's absolutely cool. But also go and follow Guzzy on Twitter. Guzzy, thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
It's been cool. It's good catch up. But yeah, guys, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please leave the video a like. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with us or disagree with anything we've said. I will be doing this again next Saturday. Hopefully, we'll be doing a non-live version. I don't mind doing the live version, but we usually do it non-live. So keep an eye out. But as always, if you haven't already subscribe for a weekly podcast and other content when I can. But yeah, thanks guys, and we'll see you all next time. Bye. I need to find the scene. I'm not used to streaming on OBS. Everything's going wrong. I think I have an ending screen. I think I do.
I think you wrote a slide again.
I've got a starting screen. We'll just do that one. Thanks, guys. Bye.